Welcome back to another conductor live stream. I know it's been way too long since I've done one of these. I am so sorry it's taken so long. I had to take a little bit of a hiatus away from doing the live streams, but I'm glad to be back. We're going to also be back on Sunday as well. So, welcome everybody. Welcome in. Shout out to my number one follower that always posts the comments right before, or at least hours before we do our live streams. Shout out to David. I'm your host, Theme Park Conductor. You can find me on YouTube and Blue Sky at Theme Park Conductor. You can find me on Instagram at theme underscore park underscore conductor. You can also find me on TikTok at Theme Park Conductor 1. And you can find me on X at Theme Conductor. Also on YouTube every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can find me on Conductor Sunday live stream, where we talk everything about Universal, Disney, HHN, and the up and coming Christmas holiday season, which I cannot be so excited about. But before we get started, we are going to be joined hopefully by one of our great friends, Jared from Capture the Magic tonight. Hopefully, he's going to let me know through a text message if he can make it. But we're going to talk about something that a lot of content creators have been talking about. I haven't really had a chance to talk about it on my channel, but I've been on other channels like Orange Go 55 and Jared from Capture the Magic. So we're actually going to jump right into the neck of it here. We're going to jump right into it. Obviously September, I think it was, let me see. It was, give me 1 second, guys. 1 second. 1 sec. Okay, hold on. Okay, there we go. So it was on, let me see. See, I have all my dates mixed up now. Unbelievable. I think it happened on September the 17th. I've been talking about this with other, no. No, the 17th. Basically what happened was Kevin Rodriguez Zavala passed away on this roller coaster on September the 17th, so a few weeks ago. Basically, in a nutshell, he had a spinal cord injury. He had some other issues with him. And the conflicting stories we've heard for the last couple of weeks is there were pieces of the coaster that hit him. There was blunt force trauma that was clearly stated in his autopsy report. And I don't even think the full autopsy report has come out yet. But from pictures we've seen of the coaster, the ride vehicles, and all that, I don't know if there's a picture of it here. Probably not. Some of the pictures, it looks like the seats were placed a little close, a little too close. And the problem I have with some like that, you look at these warning signs, right? When you go on these attractions, you look on these warning signs, and the first thing you see out of everything is, if obviously, if you're pregnant, as a woman, or if you're a man and you have heart condition, you have a back injury, which this gentleman had a spinal cord injury, which was permanent, so he was half paralyzed in a wheelchair. You have some other conditions. They recommend you don't ride this attraction. And not to shed any darkness on the family or Kevin or his girlfriend, but I have to ask the question, why was he allowed to go on this attraction? Why? I have to ask that question because one thing I hate, and I think a lot of people can agree with this or disagree, everyone is entitled to their opinion, is I hate frivolous lawsuits. I'm not saying this situation was frivolous because the gentleman died, and my sympathy and my prayers still go out to his family. But the attorney they hired, Ben Crump, guy, he's been called all sorts of names the last couple weeks on this incident. And quite frankly, I don't really feel like he has the best interest at heart for the family. He wants money. Obviously, he wants to get money for the family. But here's my problem. Does it really how can I put this? Does it really is any amount of money in the world, if you lose a family member, let's get clear on some. If you lose a family member, is any money in the world really honestly going to be satisfying enough to lose a family member on an attraction or any type of activity they're doing? Now, Ben Crump has been pretty active in his team of lawyers that are working on this case have been pretty active online, press conferences, and so forth. And he came out today and he made he did a press conference where he clearly is not satisfied because as the title clearly says on this live stream, that Universal has come out, the Universal Orlando president has come out, put a statement, and we'll read that statement here in just a second, that clearly says they had inspectors from Universal, from the I think even state inspectors, third party inspectors, and inspectors hired by Mack Rides, the manufacturer of Stardust Racers, come out and inspect every inch of this coaster, and they found nothing wrong. They didn't find any loose pieces of steel or anything like that that would cause the blood force trauma. Now, from friends like Jared from Capture the Magic, other YouTubers, there's one specifically. Let me see if I can pull up his YouTube channel here so you guys can go check out his content. He, he's in Orlando. He's a paramedic or a firefighter paramedic at the theme parks out there. But his YouTube name is Fire Medic Adventures 17. I highly encourage everybody to go check out his YouTube channel, to go check out the videos he's done on this, because it's very important. He goes into so much more detail than a lot of us that are reporting on this. And please go check out Jared from Capture the Magic. The guy is absolutely amazing. But I want to get to some comments real quick. Shout out to Kiki and Luca. Always great to have them in the chat. Kiki and Luca says it's difficult to balance being sympathetic to the family and point out that maybe the ride is safe and the guy shouldn't have been riding it. It's very true, Kiki and Luca and everyone watching. Universal also came out, and I don't know if it says it in this letter that I'm going to pull up here, but let me see. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can just pull up the entire screen here because I'm not playing a video. So let me see. Okay. So basically, oh, whoops. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm going to read it to you. This is from Karen Irwin, which is the president and chief operating officer of Universal Orlando Resort. It says, "Dear team members, as one Universal Orlando family, we continue to extend our deepest sympathy and condolences to Mr. Rodriguez Zavala's family, loved ones for their loss. I'm very grateful for the professionalism and compassion and care our team has shown during and since this tragic event took place. As as I previously stated or previously indicated, our comprehensive technical and operational review confirmed the ride systems function properly throughout the boarding process. The duration of the ride and upon the ride's vehicle return to the station, and our team members followed procedures throughout. Our extensive review was conducted working closely with local officials, and the state of Florida observed the testing and reviewed the results. In addition, the ride system manufacturer, which is Mac Rides, of record and an independent third party roller coaster engineering expert conducted their own on site testing and validated our findings. I am thankful for these participation throughout the important process. Safety, as always, is our top priority. To further assist guests in determining where they can or cannot ride an attraction, we are updating operational procedures and attraction signage to reinforce existing ride warnings and physical eligibility requirements at Stardust Racers and other rides. This means we are prepared to open Stardust Racers at Universal Epic Universe on Saturday afternoon, October the 4th. In the days ahead, please continue to take care of one another and know that we continue to process this heartbreaking event. Resources are always available should you need additional support. I am confident we will continue to deliver extraordinary guest experiences that make our destination so special. Thank you for everything you do every day. So that was a letter from the Universal Orlando president. Um, and she basically confirmed they had state inspectors. They had a team of inspectors hired by Mac Rides that built the roller coaster. They had Universal Orlando inspectors, and they even had third party. So this gentleman right here, Ben Crump, who is representing the family, and the headline statement, and shout out to Universal Addicted for posting this. He said the tagline on the bottom says attorney demands Universal Orlando pause reopening of Stardust Racers amid investigation, which cracks me up in a way. It doesn't crack me up about the gentleman's death, but it cracks me up that they've had 4 or 5 different teams of inspectors that are professional in inspecting rides in these theme parks, but yet this Ben Crump still wants the attraction closed. I don't agree with this statement. We've given them 3 weeks, or it seems like 3 weeks, but maybe 2.5 weeks, and it's gone through inspection after inspection, team by team. I don't know why this gentleman wants more downtime for Stardust Racers. It makes no sense whatsoever. I don't get it. Let's get to the comments real quick. Kiki and Lucas said, we can all agree on one thing. No one better get hurt on this ride from now on, or else the public relations image will be a nightmare. I would agree with that. Also, Kiki and Luca also said, also possible legal legality. I agree with that. I've heard that the ride is very intense. That's what I've heard as well. And I will be down in Universal Orlando and Walt Disney World in March for 12 days. with George, the Disney Italiano uh, from Halo Gelato, and Tommy Toon World. So it'll be my first time ever being at the Orlando parks, but I can assure you one thing. I plan on riding Stardust Racers if the lines aren't that bad. I plan on riding it probably multiple times in a row and then probably filming a TikTok video after the fact and showing that I don't hurt, I never got hurt, and any of that. Not saying that it can't happen to other people. Obviously, Kevin died. A lady from April claimed she got hurt and got a settlement payment out of it. So I don't know how I feel about it. But one thing I can tell you is Universal, if they're going to update signage, they have to be very, very careful on how they word the signage. And the team members have to be extremely careful on how they approach guests with something to regards like where Kevin was, being a paraplegic in a wheelchair or anything like that. They have to be very careful how they approach that, because alongside having a death on an attraction at a park that hasn't even been open a year is the fact that people nowadays, sorry to say it, take a lot of things offensively, and they can sue Universal for discrimination. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but that's a whole nother animal right there to sit there and attack, is basically how you approach people with handicap. So I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how they're going to update the signage. Hopefully it's, appropriate, respectful, and positive, but we'll see how far that goes. But Vegas Disney RTV says, at Kiki and Luca, yeah, if someone with no disabilities gets hurt, again, there will be no excuse. I 100% agree with that. David says, how's my Friday going? Well, it's going well. I'm going back to work tomorrow, so it's doing well. Vegas Disney RTV says, my armchair opinion is that it might be a combination of the coaster pushing the intensity to its limits for some guests. I think that's why they're updating the signage to further clarify how intense this roller coaster is. So in a way, it might deter people from riding it. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to get all defensive. I'm just saying. So we'll have to see what the signage says in the upcoming weeks, maybe even tomorrow. So we'll have to wait and see. Chris West, shout out to Chris West. Good to see you live. Absolutely. It's been a while since I've been live, so I'm glad to be back. Kiki and Lucas says, at Disneyland, there was a wrongful death lawsuit claiming a woman died of a brain hemorrhage after riding the Indiana Jones adventure ride. That lawsuit was settled. Well, here's the thing. And again, I don't want to make it sound worse than it already is, but I can tell you straight up that I don't like I don't like the fact that people in general ignore the warning signs, decide to ride these intense coasters or attractions, and their preconditioned medical issues cause something to happen very badly, like Kevin, who sadly passed away on Stardust Racers, and then the wormhole opens online where everybody out of the woodwork starts coming out and saying, oh yeah, Universal is responsible. Oh, Kevin this. Oh, this family is that. It just brings out the worst in people. But I do agree with Universal, though. updating the signage, training the team members to update people that have handicap needs to, in a way, deter people from riding this attraction if they have those conditions. It's not to sit there and be hatred toward these people because they can't help their condition. They have what they have and it's permanent most of the time. So, in a way, it's going to be very interesting to see how they approach people with these issues. But my question is, does it deter people from riding this attraction? Since now there is a recorded death to this attraction, and that will always be part of this attraction no matter what. So that right there in a nutshell is going to be extremely interesting. But I'm going to pull up another letter. This is from Ben from the law firm here, and this is from Ben Crump. So this is dated today, October the 3rd, 2025. It says nationally renowned civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who represented the family, Kevin Rodriguez Zavala, issued the following statement after Universal announced it will reopen the Stardust Racers roller coaster this Saturday, despite the ongoing death investigation in the Kevin's September 17th fatal ride. Stardust Racers is evidence in a active death investigation, reopening the ride before our experts can examine every component um, and of evidence, a grave risk to public safety, and it puts profit over people's lives. Universal reportedly told employees the ride function as intended. If that is accurate, then the design itself is deadly. We are demanding that Universal pause the reopening, preserve all evidence, and allow our experts to inspect it. If they refuse, we will address Universal's callous actions in court, said attorney Ben Crump. Kevin's parents, Carlos Rodriguez Ortiz and Anna Zavala, said by rushing to reopen this ride, as if nothing happened, Universal is showing great disregard for Kevin's life, our family's pain, and the safety of every rider who steps onto that coaster. We are horrified that Universal would put the ride back in operation so quickly. I don't know if I agree with any of that, if not most of that. I don't agree with a lot of that. I don't know what to think. Again, Kiki and Lucas said there is an assumption of risk when you ride a thrill ride. It just can't be dangerous. Chris West said, "Will be interesting to see what the wait times are. I will definitely be looking at the wait times when I'm at work to see what the wait times are." Do I agree with the statement from Ben Crump? Probably not. I'm going to be very honest with you. Again, the 17th, if we look on the calendar, let me look on my calendar on my phone since I haven't right in front of me, was, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 days ago. You're telling me between Universal's inspector and inspector teams, the state inspectors, Mac Rides, who had either their own people or they hired their own people to go inspect this ride, a third party, that's 4 different teams of inspectors that clearly have said there is nothing wrong with this attraction. There is no loose pieces that can have caused this blunt force trauma. There's none of that. The ride operates exactly how it's supposed to. So, you know, again, Jared from Capture the Magic mentioned to me when we first started talking about this back, like I think it was the 17th or the 18th, maybe even the 19th, when we did a live stream on his channel. He mentioned that before Epic Universe even opened, I mean before previews and all that, they found that Stardust Racers was a little too fast. So they wound up putting trim brakes on the track to slow it down. I can't imagine if Universal is opening this attraction, they feel confident enough, along with the four other teams of inspectors and Mac Rides, who created and built and designed Stardust Racers, feels that the restraint system is beyond standards. The traction does not have to be modified in any way. And if they feel comfortable opening it, I don't know why Ben Crump is making a statement like this. And one of the highlighted statements that he mentioned in this little comment, or this little story or post, was that basically he's trying to stir everything up. You know, when the family is clearly saying we are horrified that Universal would put the ride back into operation so quickly. 17 days without this attraction is quite a long time. Obviously, they wanted longer, but I kind of feel Universal, in a way, could have had this attraction still closed until Ben Crump's team hired this fifth party now to go there, and it would be a team of inspectors by his choosing to go evaluate this ride, and they would probably come to the same conclusion that all the other four inspector teams came up with. So in a way, he's not gaining anything by this. I don't understand why. Why do you guys want to delay this more and more? I don't understand it. And again, I just want to stress that I have no hatred towards Kevin, his family, and probably the horrific time they're going through planning a funeral. You know, the loss of Kevin is just probably so overwhelming, it's ridiculous. And my heart and prayers do go out to the family. But I'm going to state it as fact. The shark attorney they hired, Ben Crump, is an ambulance chaser. Loves to create drama. Loves to sit there and put, outrageous claims without the full investigation coming out. Again, when he's saying, "Oh yeah, the Universal is going to put lives in danger," I don't think so. If you have the state inspectors, and this was years ago when two other Orlando parks had a guest die on their attractions, and the state got involved and they evaluated it and they based their decision off what the state said. And then you got, in this case with Stardust Racers, the state came out, inspected the ride with all the other teams of inspectors from different areas, and has given Universal the okay to reopen this attraction. I don't know what Ben Crump wants. I don't understand it. Why does he want to drag this out farther? And to be honest with you, I don't agree with his statements. He is, to put it nicely, he's a piece of work. I'm going to just say that and end that comment there. But Kiki and Lucas says, but I'm too chicken. My limit is Incredicoaster and Cosmic Rewind. Don't worry, Kiki and Luca, I'll ride it for you. Chris West says, that's why, like at Knott's, they don't allow filming on rides. I remember hearing that someone's phone hit someone in the head while riding Silver Bullet. That makes sense. That makes sense. But Chris, just so you know, Ben Crump and the girlfriend that was with Kevin on the attraction, not Ben Crump, but the girlfriend, was originally claiming something hit him in the head, and it wasn't a phone. But I completely understand what you're saying. Kiki and Lucas says basically making the ride operational with no changes means that the ride had a health issue and it had nothing to do with ride safety. I 100% agree with you. 100%. Davis says, thanks, conductor, for having me on. It's been a great time. No, absolutely. But I want to ask everybody in the chat, everybody, even on X that's watching, I want to ask you guys about this person that this older lady that also had medical issues rode this attraction during team member previews or annual pass previews back in April. Tell me if anyone has an issue with this, but why now? Why did she come out now and say, oh, yeah, I got hurt. I had neck issues. I had head issues. Why in the hell 6 months later is she coming out and saying, oh, yeah, I got hurt? And she got paid out by Universal, which is, in my opinion, that's extortion. If you get hurt, I'm sorry, if you get hurt on an attraction at a theme park and you wait 6 months to announce something, based off another guest getting hurt and in this case killed and taking advantage of that seriousness, I have a big, and I mean a big problem with that. Seriously, you can't tell me on any face of the earth, you can't convince me any other way that this lady decided to wait 6 months and came out and said, oh, I got hurt on this attraction, and she got a nice little payout from Universal. That, in my opinion, is called extortion. If you get hurt on an attraction in the theme park, I know if it was me, I sure in the hell would report it that day. And if I felt like I needed to, I would get a hold of an attorney that day, if not the next day. I wouldn't wait 6 months after the fact and then say all this stuff and kind of take advantage of Kevin Savala's death. I'm sorry, but as far as I'm concerned, she probably signed an NDA, so we'll never officially hear from her, hopefully, unless she wants to breach her contract and pay all the money back that Universal paid her. But I just don't like that. I don't like the fact that guests do this type of stuff. And it's not been the first time something like this has happened, where a guest claims they were hurt, but they didn't say anything for months and months and months on end. And then they claim all this stuff and get a payout. That is not how you do things. I'm sorry. I don't see that productive. I personally think that's extortion and that's wrong. It's totally wrong. Uh, um, Mama says, weird how the girlfriend has yet to say anything. It's been that dude's parents as of now. Well, I can't say it because I was told this by a friend, and I'm not going to say it, but I know the reason why she hasn't come out. And I got to get clarification from the source I got it from before I say anything online about it. But I can tell you there is a reason why she's not saying anything. And it kind of makes her, in my opinion, look guilty, but that's besides the point. But let me see real quick, since I don't know if I have another. Let me see if I can pull up. I'm going to pull up a YouTube video, and well, actually, I can't even really show it. unfortunately, because of copyright issues. But I, I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know how I feel about this. It makes me sick to my stomach knowing that Kevin died on this attraction, knowing that this lady 6 months later came out and said what she said. I think it's gross that that happened. And I really hope to God Universal, huh, um, I hope they update the signage in a way that basically will deter people, like in Kevin's case, from riding attractions like this. So we don't ever have to go through something like this again. And again, this is not to tear down Kevin's, inspiration, because I know he was a ride goer from what I've heard online. He loved riding attractions and theme park rides. But I think going forward, people like that, unfortunately, have to be deterred away from attractions like this, or else in the future of the theme parks around the world, we won't be able to have attractions like this. Sorry to say it. And I don't mean it in the most negative way, but I'm just speaking the God honest truth. And I don't like it any more than anyone else, but it is the God honest truth about this. Do I want it to go that way? No, I do not. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I want to get to a video now. Let me see. I want to get to a video on YouTube. Let me see if I can find it real quick for you guys. Um, let me see. Let me see. Let me see. I just gotta find it for you guys real quick here. Kiki and Lucas says that's a good point. Basically, it cannot, the standard that if someone dies, then the theme park is automatically liable. Yes, and I hope they update their signage where it clearly says that in bold writing. If you decide to ignore the facts, ignore the warnings, if you have these conditions to not ride this attraction, and God willing, cross my fingers, it never happens again. But if it does, I'm going to tell you something right now. It clearly says on the warning sign, if they update it correctly, that this, if you do not want to follow these guidelines, and you decide to ride this attraction and God willing something happens, we are not liable. Unless something physically comes off the coaster, a metal piece or something like that, we are not liable. Going forward, I think that needs to be updated on any type of attraction like this. Even the Fast and Furious Hollywood drift coaster out here in Universal Hollywood, that in the next couple weeks is going to start ride testing. That needs to be updated immediately. So again, people that have underlying medical conditions assume the risk if they decide to ignore the guidelines. That's all I'm going to say about it, because quite frankly, if I keep talking about this, I'm going to get infuriated because it makes me mad. Quite frankly, I'm mad at the situation. I'm mad that Stardust Racers and Epic Universe and just the Universal company in general has to go through this. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair. But again, it's what it is. We can't reverse it. So it's just going forward, I think that needs to be updated. We'll see what happens, though. We'll see what happens. I'm going to pull this up from Theme Park Wizard. Shout out to Theme Park Wizard. I'm not going to play the sound because obviously I don't want to get a copyright, even though he probably doesn't mind. I just don't want to get a copyright from it. So Let's see. And then let me go from here. Let me do this real quick. He's at Universal. This was 2 days ago. And he's just checking up on new things around Universal because this is. I want to talk about happier stuff now. I don't want to talk about that whole Stardust issue anymore. It's kind of sad. But currently they're putting up the Scream Shields, which I'm super excited about. They're putting up the Scream Shields and they're almost done with them above the escalator. And then I think they're starting to work on that far side by the firehouse and all that. And one of the things I'm super excited about, because he goes over it in this video, is the mere fact that they're going to be doing ride testing on Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift in the next couple days, or not days, weeks. And Slice House, which is a new Universal City Walk restaurant, is opening. It was supposed to open today. So someone was hinting online it was supposed to open today. It didn't open today, and they're going to open it on Sunday. So if you're going to Universal on Sunday, or you weren't planning on it, if anybody goes to Universal on Sundays, I know it's going to be grand opening. I know that they're going to be giving out some really cool, awesome stuff like Universal tickets, a free year of pizza. So definitely go check that out. But Wizards pointing out right now, and again, I don't have the sound on, but Wizards pointing out that there's new markings behind the Simpsons area and what this can mean for the Simpsons and the attraction, the land, everything about it. And what I find very interesting is I want to ask you guys, if we had to put anything in that Simpsons area that you could clearly see behind Theme Park Wizard there, what would you put there? Because you have Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift, which he's showing right now, and it's just one attraction. It's not a land, it's just an attraction. And then behind Simpsons, you got Harry Potter. What would you put in that Simpsons area that would make logical sense and kind of just kind of fit? Because one thing I've learned about Universal Hollywood, obviously, and it's not something you even have to think about, it's just plain and simple, Universal Hollywood is very small compared to Orlando. So the questions I have is, do they put more Harry Potter in that space? Do they expand Fast and Furious and make it into an entire land? Do they maybe explore the fact, maybe putting Pokemon there? Could they do something Nintendo like? Which I don't think that would be the case, because it would be kind of weird to have Super Nintendo World on the lower lot and then have a Nintendo property up above. That would almost pretty much 100% not make sense. So I don't I don't agree with that. I really honestly don't. So of course you gotta have a commercial. So I'm kind of curious. Post in the comments on what you guys think can go in that Simpsons land. I'm very, very, very curious to to hear what you think. You know, it's something I want to hear your comments about. I want to hear what you guys think can go in that area. Me personally, the land's too small to put an IP. I know a couple people want Universal Monsters, but I can tell you right now, that area is too small for Universal Monsters. I want Universal Monsters to go in the lower lot somewhere where they're going to be ripping out all those sound stages. I want Universal Monsters, if they're going to bring a West Coast version of Dark Universe, I want it to go down there. So it's a bigger land and it's not crammed between Fast and Furious and Harry Potter. Personally, for me, I'm going to be very, very, very honest with you. I'd rather see more Harry Potter. I'd rather see that land or that land turn into the entrance to the Hogwarts Express and have the Hogwarts Express go from where the studio tour load and unload area is and to basically go from there to arrive um where Supercharged is, where it's no longer running for the studio tour. Stop there, drop guests off, and Falls Lake becomes the new Harry Potter land. That's what I would like to see. And possibly a Hagrid's motorbike adventure put down there. I would love to see that. Now, Wizard, and shout out to Theme Park Wizard. He's the absolute GOAT when it comes to theme park permits. I've said it so many times I've lost count, but it's true. He has clearly stated there is new markings that have been put in the World of War set area where clearly, obviously, World of Wars or the World of War set where we're all currently walking through Terror Tram is no longer going to be there. They're going to be building a new studio building there. I don't know what could possibly be probably for the studio. I have no idea, but that's going away. So basically, in a nutshell, this is the last year we're going to see the studio or the Terror Tram. But I want to cut away for a second because Wizard's showing that new Slice House that's going to be opening on Sunday, and it looks beautiful inside. I love this. Absolutely love this. It looks beautiful inside. It looks like there's some seating in there, not a lot of seating, but there is some seating. But that marquee sign is beautiful. I love that marquee sign. One thing that I'm curious about, will they offer annual pass discounts? I hope they do. But it looks like they have a quick service location, which Wizard's at right now. And then they have a sit down aspect. So it has the best of both worlds. I love that. I truly, honestly love that. So it's going to be quite interesting to me. And then right next to Jamba Juice, as he's passing by it on the left there, Johnny Rockets used to be there, and now it's going to be a new Korean barbecue place. You can kind of see the construction wall right there. I'm very curious how that's going to be. I can't wait because I love Korean barbecue. So I cannot wait to try it. That's going to be awesome. And I know my friend Tommy Toonworld, shout out to him. He's going to be the first one to try that. His channel, half his channel or a quarter of his channel is about food reviews. So I can promise you he's going to do a food review, not only on Slice House, but that Korean barbecue spot. But where Wizard's headed to right now is an overlook of the Jurassic Park parking structure, where it's going to show new construction for one of 3 security bubbles that Universal is building to kind of enclose City Walk. That way you don't have issues with people trying to bring in weapons, contraband, stuff that they shouldn't be bringing into either City Walk or the theme park. But there's an upside to this by them building 3 security hubs at Universal. There's a lot of vacant spots in City Walk, and multiple locations were kind of like the nighttime entertainment. So hopefully those venues come back, because with 2, at least 1 hotel for sure, but they say 2 on-site hotels for Universal Hollywood means that they're seriously considering expanding and building the theme park even bigger, with new experiences, new lands, new attractions, new shows, hopefully, and just overall new dining locations, new shopping locations, new character meet and greets, the whole 9 yards. So what Wizard's showing right now is the security hub that they're currently working on. And what's interesting to me is that they're going to be closing off certain areas of City Walk to wall it off. So it's kind of like a bubble. And whatever parking structure you walk into, you will have to go through one of the three security areas. This is just one of the bigger ones that Wizard's showing, but there's another one by the old iFly location, and then there's going to be another one at the Frankenstein parking lot or parking structure. And the hotel where this area is to the very far right, kind of towards Hilton in the front of the park, that's where the hotel's going to be built. So once this security hub right here, which I just stated is going to be the one of the biggest out of the three that's being built, I guarantee you once this opens, maybe even the second one, which is by iFly, once those two open, I can almost promise you the front of the park where the globe is, where the new where the current security areas are, that is going to be all walled off because again, Wizard has posted over time that they're going to move the globe at least 20 feet towards the archway. That's basically the entrance of Universal. And those security areas that we currently have at the moment are going away. And basically, um, give me a second, folks. I'm gonna get Jared from Capture the Magic, but you know, basically in a nutshell, um, let me see if I can do this for him. Okay. Basically in the nutshell is that this is going to help, Universal be more safe. And I have to tell you guys, who in the hell doesn't want a safe park? Because I know I do. I know I do. Um, to be honest with you, I want a safe park. I want I want more attractions to come. So why not? Why not? But again, we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Um, but what do you guys think? What other IPs do you want to come just to Hollywood? Not Orlando, not Japan, not any other Universal park, just Hollywood. What would you guys like to see? I've already told you I want a second Harry Potter land. Obviously, I want more, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Post in the comments. Um, post on the comments, and as Wizard's showing this again, there's an updated picture from him, so I'm gonna pull that up real quick, and then once our other guest shows up, we are gonna go back to the other video, um or the other topic about Stardust, because I want to kind of hear from Jared here, but um let me see if I can find that post before he jumps on here. Let me see. Okay, let me see if I can find it for you guys. I think it was actually on X that he posted it. See if I can find it. That way you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about here. Okay. Let me share my screen real quick for you guys. Yes. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see that. Hopefully you can. Oh, whoops. Okay. But it's interesting. This was just posted today. I think today or yesterday. They put up the structure. I kind of feel like this might be a seating area. I can't swear on that though. It might be, but they're going to have a video board. So I don't know if that's going to be for like, I don't know, for to promote Canes, or it's going to be the marquee sign. I'm not sure what they're going to do here, but post in the comments how many of you like Raising Canes, because I love Raising Canes. I love it. It's so good. Their secret sauce, which I actually have looked up recipes on this. It's actually quite funny. I've learned how to make the secret sauce, and it's not hard. It's only like 4 ingredients. But shout out to Theme Park Wizard for that. And then these are some of the markings he was coming up with behind the Simpsons. And again, this could mean something, this could be nothing. But the fact that we're getting rid of the Simpsons IP in 2028, or we have to get rid of it in the Universal Parks by then, maybe because again, they're pretty much done with Fast and Furious with the coaster. They're just adding the Scream Shields, and then they got a ride test, and that's about it. At that point, landscaping, nothing that is going to cause that's going to cause the ride to be closed. So I'm very curious what they're going to put. And then this is an updated picture on that Scream Shield. I hope. I don't know how this is going to work, because I'm really hoping because I noticed on some of these, like here, because these shields are going to match what this is going down the escalators. I really honestly hope they keep up with the glass. So I really hope that that's the case. And look who we have here. My good friend.
What's up?
Jared from Capture the Magic. Man.
How's it going, man?
Oh, it's doing well. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Just enjoying a little Friday night. Just lounging. We're watching a movie, and then my wife's like, "I'm going to bed," and I was like, "Well, I'll hop on a live stream then, because I'm not tired yet." But
that's awesome.
My wife can't make it through movies. It's like it gets 30 minutes in, and all of a sudden it's that way since we were dating. You just see the head start nodding, and you're like, "Okay."
Oh, that's hilarious. So, Jared, I want to ask you before we get started, where can everyone find you on social media?
You can find me everywhere at Cap the Magic, and that's Twitter, all that stuff, YouTube. And then if you want theme park specific things, reviews, talking about Disney World, Universal Studios Orlando for the most part, at CTM Podcast with my wife and I. We have a podcast for like 8 years now where we talk about all sorts of things. We just had an episode on reviewing a bunch of Disney Springs restaurants. So if you're looking for specific info there, that's where you can find all my online wares.
Well, I cannot wait for you to be my tour guide in March. That's going to be fun.
I will do that, and then I'm sure my wife will be with me. She's much better at the like touring guide part of it. Like she's been going to Disney since she was like in the womb. So she's a planning. Like I don't do planning. She does planning and all this stuff. So if you have like any questions about how to fit in the most rides in a day, she is the person to talk to. So yeah, we'll get you covered there for sure.
There we go. So I want to ask you, because I started off this live stream talking about obviously the main topic of Stardust Racers. It's been the hot topic across the social media world lately for the last 2.5 weeks. And you just put out another video today, and I watched it, and it was very impressive. All your videos on this topic have been amazing.
Well, I appreciate it. It's weird doing. I think it's like the 5th or 6th one. It's a weird topic to cover for sure, but there's so many different little intrigue. Like I think it's one of those things. The news stations cover it, but they don't know the theme park operations. And
sure.
It's like you get different perspectives. So I was like, well, and I've had a lot of Universal team members reach out to me, so I actually have some information about the internal workings and how that lines up with all the stuff that they're claiming. And yeah, it's a very interesting topic. I mean, it's sad, the incident, of course, but it's interesting of everything that's happened since then.
Well, so I want to pick your brain at this, since you might have a little more clarity than what I've talked about at the beginning. Is a lot of people are super excited, but
Yeah.
also wary about Universal opening this attraction back up starting tomorrow in the afternoon. And Crump, obviously, he's been very aggressive on his press conferences, representing the family. Came out today, made a comment or made a statement, basically saying that Universal is basically putting people in imminent danger. Has
Right.
basically roped in the family who lost Kevin, getting them all riled up, basically stating almost word for word Batum that this attraction should not be open. It's a danger to all, and the investigation is not over yet. But from what I've been hearing from watching your videos, another gentleman who's a paramedic in the Orlando parks that's done multiple videos and has even given you multiple shout outs for your coverage of it.
I saw him. I need to give him a shout out. I actually saw his first video he did on it, and I commented on it. But yeah, he had a lot of really good information from an EMT standpoint for sure.
He did. And just to clarify, let me see his channel name, just to let everyone know. It's called Fire Medic Adventure 17. So I definitely
That's right.
encourage everyone to go check that out, and definitely go check out Jared's coverage of Stardust Racers. But when Crump is coming out and saying stuff like that, and then you got the family that's already in mourning, probably just besides themselves, not knowing
Yeah.
what to do, having to plan a funeral, and but yet Crump is kind of taking advantage of this in a way. And we've had four separate teams of engineers come out and look at this attraction inch by inch, from the ride vehicles to the track to operations, and they've all clarified that the ride has done nothing wrong, that
Mhm.
it operated like it should have. Why do you think Ben Crump and his team of lawyers who's representing this family would make outrageous comments like that?
Well, I don't know a lot about Ben Crump. I've learned a little bit from the first time he popped up and people in the comments, and throughout this whole thing, one of the videos kind of went a little wild,
Sure.
and I had a lot of people send me emails. I've had some things sent to me that I can't verify, but
Sure.
if true, is not going to look good for Crump in terms of the way they are phrasing certain things. I mean, I think obviously money, wanting a payout. He did win $320 million for that Icon Park death that happened back in 2022, which, I mean, again, a young kid, 16-year-old lost his life there. But that one is much different. There were they had bypassed safety stuff on that ride, and there was clearly user error in terms of the operators, and that led to a death. This one here, again, like you said, there's been multiple people that have gone through this. Nothing went wrong on the ride outside of, obviously, Kevin died, but nothing on the ride itself performed strange. There was no issues there. I think this is just, if you want to call it an ambulance chase or whatever you want to call it, I think his thing, I don't think this is going to go to a trial, because I don't even know what case they would have if you have the investigators, if you have multiple different independent engineers and investigators looking at this. They would have to be also going after mock rides. Then you would get into code. Like he's essentially alluding to the system itself allowing a unsafe attraction to be there. And I think that he's trying to basically go for a settlement by being a thorn in Universal's side. So he's just going to go out. He's going to do, I'm sure he's probably going to do weekly press conferences like he's done the last 2 weeks
Yeah.
and make a bunch of claims. He's already encouraged people to come forward. I think that's his goal here, is just to get a settlement, and more than likely he'll get one, because I think Universal will end up paying a settlement just to make him go away and not want to drag this thing out. But I think that's his goal. I mean, and I don't want to go like my whole thing is too, like you said, I'm not going to go at the family because I can't even imagine what they're going through.
Oh,
It's
sure.
a terrible thing. And I don't know the inner workings to claim he's taking advantage of them. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. Maybe this is exactly what they feel as well. But I think, like I said, if some of the stuff I'm being told that I can't verify is true,
Oh, sure.
it's yeah. I'll just put it that way. It's not going to look good on him if that ends up being true.
Well, no, it's not. And I want to read a statement that I read earlier, but now that you're here, I want to reread it to the audience. This is from his law firm, a statement that he put out. This is from today. It clearly says nationality re-owned civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who represents the family, blah, 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 Kevin's September 17th fatal ride. But this is where it gets interesting. It says Stardust Racers is evidence in an active death investigation. Reopening the ride before experts can examine every component of evidence of the attraction puts grave risk to public safety. And before I keep reading, Jared, I want to ask you, even saying the statement, a grave risk to public safety, and obviously I'm going to read more comments like that in this short little paragraph, but do you think Universal might have a case for slander if what you're hearing from sources that, again, you can't 100% confirm, that might be bad for Crump and his firm? Could Universal go after him for slander for saying stuff like this?
Slander's hard. You have to prove. I think I'm trying to remember. There's slander and there's another one. I think there's a pretty high bar to prove. Like you would have to go through lengthy. You'd have to sue. It would drag this thing out even further. You might be able to. I don't think Universal will. And what's key in there, what he's saying, he says our investigators. So I think what's happening here, we do know Universal does have footage. They have said as much, but they haven't turned it over to Crump's team because technically there's no lawsuit yet. And until you get into discovery, you don't have to. Yeah. And so if it ever went to discovery, that's when they would have to hand over evidence back and forth. I think what Universal's done, and Luca even said it, the defamation is a very high standard.
Yeah,
it could meet it. You'd have to prove that he had ill intent when he said it and all that stuff. So I don't think they'll go after that. I think Universal's bringing in. It's going to be hard to argue against world-renowned experts and engineers that are claiming like this is a thing, and they're wanting their own people to come in. And then the thinking there was like, well, more than likely they're going to come in and find something, but they don't know. Who knows who they are, who they would bring in. So they could, but I think this is going to be Crump just doing the. He's just going to make a lot of noise trying to get a bigger settlement. And I would assume they've already been in talks on some level. One would assume at this point.
Sure.
But no lawsuit has been filed as of yet. I'm guessing they're waiting until the final outcome of the investigation before they officially file something.
Sure. And there was another comment. I don't know if it's in this article or another one, but Crump was saying if Universal, and again, the Stardust Racers isn't open until tomorrow afternoon, from what Universal is claiming from their president for the Universal Orlando Parks. Crump was actually, I wouldn't use the word threatening, but he was making it pretty firm that he would want to take this to court if they do decide to open this attraction tomorrow. Is that something you've heard?
I haven't heard that directly, but I think regardless, this is heading to court anyways. And I think Universal is going to sit there. If they're getting, if the Universal is not going to reopen this ride, if there's any chance that the investigation is going to say that something happened with the ride, or that they would be, they're not going to take a multi-million-dollar risk here and open this back up. I think you could argue that they're not making any changes because if they made changes, then Crump and them can point to being like, see, they knew something was wrong and they made a change or something like that. So I think this is Universal basically being like, you're not going to tell us when we can open an attraction. And I think that's how I would be. I mean, if I did something and everybody's telling me, hey, you didn't do anything wrong, and it's a very unfortunate set of circumstances, who has been Crump to tell Universal that they can't open up an attraction that they paid for and operate? And there was a tragedy here, but if you look at past incidents, I mean, a lot of times rides will come back open even if there is something that happens on them while there's still investigations going on. So I think Crump is going to be loud. He's going to be boisterous. And I think that Universal, you got to think too, Universal's lawyers, both Disney and Universal, I'm sure they have some sharks that,
Oh God, yeah,
that are going to be litigating this for sure.
and we're not talking about Bruce the shark. We're actually talking about actual sharks.
Oh yeah.
In the game.
Those lawyers they both have teams of lawyers that are, very, very high end that are going to go over everything before they open something like this.
Oh, definitely. And Tiki and Luca posted a comment. They said, so Jared, ideally, how does Universal balance being sympathetic to the family while assuring the public that it's safe?
That's the tough thing you got to try and do. So the other thing that I have heard as well, and I can't verify this, Crump is claiming that there's been no contact between Universal and the family. I from what I've heard, that is not accurate. For some reasons that I'm not at liberty to talk about, that are kind of obvious if you hear about it or if it comes out about that.
Sure.
It's a tough thing. I mean, their statements have been very sympathetic, but at the same time, it's like, how much does this ride's going to reopen at some point?
Yeah.
And if all the safety stuff comes back and it's safe, Universal, they're not saying anything publicly. Most of the last couple of statements have been to team members that have been leaked out. So they're not going on, Crump's out here saying stuff. Universal's not having a rebuttal publicly. I think that for a corporation, and that's where you get into it as well. Like, corporations are not what you would call they're for the common man. Like, they're corporations. They're soulless mega corporations, as they're many times viewed.
Sure.
I don't know. There's no handbook or perfect way to do it, but if they have the clear that they were in the good on this, and this is a terrible incident, they've said everything publicly. I think that you would need to say, I'm assuming they probably have offered some sort of compensation already, and it's probably been rejected. And then it just comes down to we just have to reopen this ride at some point. If there's nothing else that says she can't. How much it's already been closed for 2 weeks. So I don't know and Luke also asked, could they done anything different? I don't know. And again, we don't know all the details either. We don't know really, there's a lot of stuff we don't know from the outside looking in. So I don't know. It's probably too early to say, but
Sure.
I don't think it's heartless. It's a terrible thing. But I think ultimately what's going to end up coming out from the investigation is Kevin Rodriguez Zavala should not have ridden this ride. There were warnings about, in his condition, and ultimately Universal gave those warnings, and this still happened. And so it's they're probably in a kind of a no-win situation in terms of the optics on some level, but I think them kind of being quiet and not really rebuttaling back is a way to handle it, because I think they're probably thinking the same thing. We don't want to go to war with Ben Crump, who is representing this family, because that's not going to look good either.
No. But see, one of the things I kind of feel, in my personal opinion, those four groups I talked about earlier, about those four groups of inspectors. You had a group from Universal Orlando, you had a group from the state, you had a group from Mack Rides, and you had a third party group all look at this attraction in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And what puts the nail in the coffin, I think, and no point intended about coffin, but what puts the nail in is the fact that the state of Florida had teams go out there, look at this attraction inch by inch, found nothing wrong, gave Universal the clear, and it's been pretty evident when those other two deaths happen at the other smaller Universal or at the other Orlando parks, the third party parks, that there were deaths, that Ron DeSantis and people from his administration came out during the press conference and clearly stated that they wanted more oversight over, the theme parks, and that includes Universal and Walt Disney World. And the fact that we have something like this, and again, a team of inspectors from the state of Florida came to go look at this and cleared it, to me, that just puts a nail in the coffin for Crump's case, because
Yeah.
Florida is no fan to theme park accidents, especially in their state, because they already
Right.
had two of them that result in deaths. So the fact that they're clearing Universal, and obviously there's no bias there, I at least don't think there is. Why would Crump fight this anymore? And why would he want to get another team of, you know, in there to go look at this attraction when the state's already claiming that it's safe?
Well, I think a bigger payday, trying to find something. I mean, I guess you could say you don't, when you have four separate entities looking at something, I think that's why Universal probably did that. It's kind of really hard to claim bias. Like if you had one team come in, it was Universal's team, and they said, yeah, nothing's wrong here. Okay, why don't, let's get a second opinion. You've gotten four that seemingly are not, they're unrelated to each other. And you would assume the state and also the third party, especially, are removed. So you had Matt come in. They're obviously, you could say they have a vested interest because it's their ride. Universal has a vested interest, but the other two seemingly would not. They're just there as independent and looking at this. And, again, from the facts that we've known about this, there's nothing that like flew off this ride. There's no, there was no safety harness issue in terms of something came loose. I think Crump is just angling for anything he can do to throw at this to try. I think his strategy is just to aim for a settlement and make a lot of noise and just be a thorn in Universal's side. And Luke had an interesting comment because he said, interestingly, I'm not saying it's the same situation, but when the child got eaten by the gator, Disney immediately did everything they could to help the family and not consider the legal liability. First off, that thing, man, that situation, it was so sad. It's terrible. Like, I think, well, how old is that young boy? Like 5 when that happened?
Yeah.
Like it's around like my kids' ages.
Jeez Louise.
But you're in that situation, you're also talking about basically an act of nature. And this would be much different if on this roller coaster, it's a clear sky and lightning randomly struck him. And there was no evidence that like they should, there was no rain in the forecast or whatever. Like you're talking about something that's just out of anybody's control. I think the response might be different. I think, like I said before, there potentially could be some inner workings here that have complicated this on many ways. And then it seems like the family lawyered up very quickly, which probably meant Universal's lawyers said, okay, like any statement you make here could be, especially you're dealing with like Ben Crump. They may have just been like, don't say anything publicly. But but again, from what I have heard, they have talked with the family. So for some very obvious reasons. And I think what's been known publicly just may not be what's known, like is not necessarily been released yet. That has happened internally.
Well, I want to ask you this before I bring up the next thing. Was I think it was in today's video or a previous video about Stardust Racers, you reported that there was a crane that was put on site of Stardust Racers. Could you clarify what that was all about?
So it's unknown. There was some people on Twitter had spotted and took pictures. There's a boom lift in and around it. I think some of it is even happening at night, but nobody knows exactly what they were doing. It could have been maintenance just because the ride has not been running for 2 weeks. So it could have been that. Some of the theories were that they were applying trim brakes on it. On a certain section, but that is unconfirmed. But we do know they had a boom lift over there looking at and doing something on it. But I haven't heard anything, concrete about what they were doing there. But I don't know if they could have added trim brakes, and if they did, they may not release it. I mean, they never even said publicly they added trim brakes to it before the park officially opened to slow it down on a certain section due to the G forces. And they never actually publicly said that they did do that, but you can see them when you actually look at it, like before and after pictures. So,
well, see, my whole thing on that, if they wanted to add more trim brakes, why not? And again, we can't even confirm that that's what they were doing. For all I know, they had inspectors on that boom lift looking at the track. For all I
That's
know,
possible as well. Yeah.
but let's say they were adding trim brakes. Would it make sense for them to add something like that with dealing with a guy like Ben Crump that loves creating noise about any case he's involved with? Why not wait until the case is over with, close the attraction, then add the trim brakes? Because, like you stated earlier, any, and I mean any modifications to this attraction in people's view, especially Ben Crump and the family, automatically guarantees guilt.
Yeah, and I agree with Lucas that too. Adding trim brakes cannot be used as evidence of negligence. I'm not saying it would be. I think it would be public perception. And again, I think as Crump is angling for a settlement here, but I
Yeah,
don't actually think they probably added anything. Given how quickly they're opening this up,
yeah,
I think they got the clearance. And Yont Smokes even said Universal should offer the public an explanation. They probably can't until the investigation is done.
yeah,
Is my guess. Usually you're not able to comment on it. But again, by them doing this, I think we all can really jump to the conclusions of what they're going to come out and say, which is
sure,
that, they're going to deem it's already been deemed an accident. And I think this kind of tells you what the final outcome is here. Because I don't think they would reopen this unless they also kind of got the go ahead and reopen this from the officials as part of this.
oh, sure,
But yeah, I mean, it's almost a no-win situation, really. I mean, and I'm listen, I'm no fan of mega corporations, and I'm gonna sit there
no,
and tell them that they're doing great stuff and they care about people. They want to make money, and they're also trying to just defend their ride in many ways. So
sure,
I don't know. It's a big. I mean, I guess you could just say if you did think anything was wrong with this ride, um, reopening it up right after this happens would be a very risky move. So I suppose you could say it's a move of confidence that they don't believe that there's anything wrong with the ride.
no, but the mere fact, and again, I'm going to refer back to your video that you posted today, and everyone in the chat, please go check out Jared from Capture the Magic on his channel and his content, and definitely check out the video he did. But one of the things that were stated was that Universal is going to be starting with Stardust Racers, looking at other attractions like probably Velocicoaster and others to update signage and warnings
Mm-hmm.
before guests go on these attractions. Now, I talked to you earlier before this live stream, and one of the questions I asked you was, how do you think Universal is going to update these signs, and how bold of a statement they are going to make on these signs? Maybe in a positive way to deter people that are, and again, I mean this with no disrespect, but like in Kevin's status, where they shouldn't write it, but they decide to write it. My personal thought on it is, if they update it, one of the little lines they need to put on their signs is, if you have one of these conditions and you decide to ignore it, and God willing something happens, we cannot be held liable. Only if a piece of the attraction comes apart and does damage to you or anyone on the coaster, then we're liable. If you decide to go on it and something medical happens to you and nothing is wrong with the ride, we are not responsible. Do you think Universal would put something like that? So it's a clear statement.
Yeah, they could. I mean, I guess you could say that's sort of implied, but they could. I wonder what they will do, because what's funny is my brother hadn't been to Universal in, oh man, before 2010, because
Oh,
we've
wow.
gone to Disney with his family, look at our kids and stuff like that a few times.
Sure.
But this past trip, this past summer, they went over to Universal as well, and we were in line. I forget what it was for. And he was like, man, they really warn you here. And I was like, what? And he was talking about how they give you so many warnings on all these attractions at Universal. And I didn't really know. We go so much, I didn't really. You kind of tune that stuff out, like you see it, and that possibly what happened here. If he's gone to a parks a lot, you kind of tune that stuff out. But so I think Universal does give. I think Disney and Universal give very ample warnings on these things, but they could make it much more in your face, bigger signs. I wonder if they're going to have team members basically saying every time somebody goes to get on, like, these are the warnings. If you have back pain issues, whatever, like they make it very clear that every person hears it before they get on, sort of situation. But I don't really know what else they could do, because I do think there's ample warnings on all these things. I don't think they hide it. It's not like they have fine print and it says like, hey, oh, we didn't see the fine print. Like when you go on Green Gots, which is not a high, I mean, it's not like an insanely thrilling roller coaster. They're like, they basically make it be like, you might die on this thing. Like if if you've got any pain, like, so I think they do a very good job of warnings, but I think they may just go well above and beyond after this.
Definitely. And Kika and Luca has a question for you. They said, Jared, have you ridden the ride? How intense is it?
I have not. I'm not a big coaster person. If it goes upside down, I don't do this. My max of roller coasters is like Guardians and Hagrid's. Now my wife has ridden it. I know multiple people that have ridden it. And my wife loves coasters. She said it's an intense coaster. She said it's up there with Velocicoaster.
Sure.
It does have a lot of G-force. And she said when she rode it, they tell you to keep your head very still and like brace yourself back. Like, so there is warnings about you need to keep your head back and try and control it, because it is just a lap bar. But she did say it's a pretty intense ride. I've heard from multiple people as well that rode it back to back, and they ride coasters all the time, and they were just like, it's a lot back to back. Like they had to like take a break, because it does have a lot of G-forces. And so it is a pretty intense coaster. It doesn't have a lot of like loops and things, but it's just these turns and the way at which it kind of goes. But I think it is fairly intense.
Well, let me ask you this before we go on to our next subject. Is there was another guest complaint that it was an older lady back in April during previews. All of a sudden, 6 months later, she comes out during this horrific tragedy, and in my opinion, kind of takes advantage of the situation.
Right.
Claims she was hurt and gets a settlement from Universal. Do you think, how can I word it? Do you think she was taking advantage of this situation, or you think she was valid? Because in my personal opinion, if I get hurt on an attraction at a theme park, doesn't matter what it is, why in the hell would I wait 6 months to say something?
Right.
And the fact that Kevin, let's say, God willing, he didn't die, would she have ever said anything?
Probably not. I mean, these things happen. And if you saw her lawyer, that guy looked very much like Better Call Saul level. Maybe he's a great lawyer. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't have the highest opinion of lawyers, and I've worked with them and doing the stuff that I've done. I've done marketing stuff, and I don't have the highest opinion of them in general. I don't think many people do, but probably not. I think obviously you see this happen, and Universal settled that one very quickly.
Yeah,
because I'm sure they probably also didn't want this one along with Ben Crump one out there, and they probably. I'm assuming it wasn't a really big settlement with her. Just like, here's the money, here you go, sort of situation. So I think that was probably just taking advantage of the press and what was going on with this, more than likely.
Yeah. Kiki and Luca, he's funny. Better Call Saul.
Oh, yeah. Dude, he gave me such vibes. He did an interview on one of the news stations, and I was like, and it almost looked like he had just tied a tie for the first time. I was like,
oh my God.
But,
oh, good Lord.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, why would you wait that long? And they even cited in the press conference a comment on the GoFundMe of a woman that wrote it and said that it was, and that's where they got the whole line that this ride was going to kill somebody, was because she had said that in her statement. And it sounds to me, I don't know this, but that we do know of 2 published incidents of people getting injured on this ride. One was a woman around the same age as this lady. Another was a gentleman, and had blurred vision when they got off of it. I'm thinking that this, one of the comments they used was her, but in both instances, Universal did state, because they do their own inspections, Disney and Universal, but they have to report injuries. And they stated that both of those incidents they had pre-existing conditions. They didn't say what it was, but I think you'd have a bigger issue if, and I think we may have talked about this before, if like you have someone perfectly healthy that rides this and something like this happens to them. Or multiple people. Like I think if you're looking at this and you unfortunately, you look at the situation here, and you have Kevin who had he was in a wheelchair, and the EMT video, he does a really good explanation of when people are in wheelchairs, they're very tendencies to like fall forward, because that's why they're actually belted into wheelchairs. Because he said a lot of times when you take off that belt, they'll sometimes just fall right out of their wheelchair. So I think given that, you also have issues whenever you are wheelchair bound of like, there's vascular issues. And I'm not saying I'm a doctor. I have a personal training background, but you have a lot of other health issues that can go along with somebody that condition where maybe he passed out. And they haven't said which one happened first. They may not know. But I think when you're dealing with pre-existing conditions, it kind of, given how many people have ridden this ride and this type of thing hasn't happened to anybody else, it's definitely an outlier. And you just kind of look at the situation as it is and just be like, well, is this something that typically happens on here? Clearly not. But I do wonder, they haven't said anything about it, but if they're going to be a little bit more proactive on perhaps, people with like coming up in a wheelchair to double check and say, can you brace yourself? Are you able to do this sort of thing? Because they do have case law on their side. There have been lawsuits about this. And basically what has come out of that is safety take precedence over like ADA law, which is American Disabilities Act. So if a ride is not safe for disabled people, you are protected if you say they can't ride it because safety is going to take precedence. So if they did decide to go that route, I think they would be protected legally. But universal team members also can't actually ask what somebody's disability is either. No. So you have to they would have to basically just be like, are you sure? But they couldn't actually be like, hey, are you paralyzed or what is your issue sort of thing. But ultimately it's just up to the person to take the risk.
Well, see, that's part of the problem I have. If they decide to go that route, how can it, if a team member, like you said, asks them, can you actually handle this attraction? Are you actually going to be okay to ride this? How can they get that on record? The reason I asked such a question is, like you said, obviously Universal has president on their side. They have the law on their side due to the Disability Act over, safety over disability. But as well as I do, nowadays, people, and I'm just going to call it how I see it. People get butthurt about a lot of stuff. And it could be the most simplest of stuff said to one another or said about somebody, and it's lawsuit city. Right. So how can a Universal team member on this attraction and other attractions, almost be recorded when they say something like that to a guest that might be in a wheelchair or might be in an electric scooter or something like that, where it's clearly evident they have some type of handicap where they're protected? Because obviously, even if this went to court, let's say this Kevin case went to court with Crump and all that, is there a way that, when he was getting loaded onto the ride vehicle, and not by Universal team members like Crump and his team's trying to claim, but by the girlfriend, maybe some family members or some type of attendee that was with him, how can they ensure that the Universal team member, obviously they have cameras, so obviously it'll be proven if it does go to court that a team member did not help him, but like verbally, like we're talking about with this attraction reopening, how can future situations, how can Universal be more covered if a Universal team member says something like that to a guest?
I'm assuming that would also go into the more warning signs, like making it like, I guess, I don't know. Now, obviously I'm not a lawyer, but I would assume there is some sort of legal precedent where if you're on a highway and you're driving the wrong way and there's multiple signs, you can't plead ignorance and say, I didn't see the signs. So if they make it, I would assume there's some sort of thing of like above, like, common sense here. Like you see all these signs, the team members actually say, are you able to do X, Y, and Z? you would actually have to prove that they did not do that sort of situation, I suppose.
Which,
But I mean, outside of actually having people sign something, now they could go the route. I think they did this on Mission Space at a
okay.
Disney World because someone actually did have a heart attack and die from that attraction when it first opened. Because that one, if you don't know, it just goes in circles and makes you sick. It's not
Sure.
people don't. It's one of the rides people for the most part don't like. But I think they added a side that wasn't as intense. And I believe when you go ride the intense side, they actually physically hand you a list of the warnings. I do wonder if maybe Universal goes that route and physically puts into your hand a maybe it's a piece of paper or maybe it's a laminate thing of here are the ride warnings before you get on here. That is a way they could go about it because I think they did that with Mission Space.
Well, see, okay, that's something I would like to see. So why they're waiting in line, their group, and especially the individual themselves, whether it's a he or she, the Universal team member, obviously there's cameras inside the load station where it's filming everybody and the attraction itself. It will be clearly on camera that the team member hands the individual that laminated list of all the stuff. That way, that's just an extra layer of protection for Universal.
Right. And then if you don't read it and you still write it, and then you had some sort of medical issue, that's not on Universal. Like Universal can't also then make you take a test. Like,
no.
So it's like on some level, like this also goes into like personal responsibility if you do have and there's plenty of people that have commented on the videos. The one video I had, I think it's got over 1,000 comments at this point. I couldn't go through all those if I even tried. It'd take me probably 8 hours, but a lot of people were saying that, I would love to ride this, but I know I have an
limitations
issue with migraine. Yeah, like for me, like I don't have any physical limitations. I just don't like roller coasters that do that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think I would be physically fine. I just don't enjoy it. So for me, it's like, oh, I'm not going to do it because it's not part of the thing I like about theme parks. But I think, and you do have some level too of like, if people understand the risk, you do have like, people want to protect themselves. Most people want to live that are doing these things. So I think it'll be interesting to see because Luca even said there's going to be people playing victim on purpose. It's possible that you will have some people do that, but that may be why Universal, I would assume, whatever extra precautions they take in terms of warning you about these things. So if the ride itself is safe, then it would just simply be, and some people have it as well, and not to freak people out, but if people have underlying issues that they're not even aware of. And that's another thing that could happen as well, is you don't know.
Absolutely.
And that has happened before. I think that's actually, I'm thinking correctly. I think on Mission Space, a boy, I think it may have been a young boy that passed away, but he had an undiagnosed heart condition that they just didn't know about. Yeah. So things like that can happen that you're just not even aware of either.
Oh, sure. And one thing I can say, at least on Universal side, I'm sure the Walt Disney Company is strongly looking at the situation as well, is that any attractions that are built, that are currently going to be built, that could have some type of intensity level close to Stardust Racers, I think Universal would be proactive to update the policy that they're going to implement on Stardust Racers with all attractions. That way they're covered across the board.
Yeah,
and
probably.
You know what? I think Walt Disney World at this point should do the absolute same.
I'm actually curious. I could wonder if Disney updates theirs too, because you got to think they're looking at this as well, being like, well, double check on some stuff. I mean, people, if you look at the ride reports, but you can find these, they're publicly available. I mean, people get hurt on carousels. Like people get hurt on all sorts of attractions a lot of times. So it's not just high-end roller coasters. Obviously, this one was a very bad incident, but I mean, I think we talked about OG and mentioned back out in Disneyland, Big Thunder Mountain. Back in the 80s, I think a guy died on it due to a malfunction of the ride. So, it's always a chance. But with technology and one thing that is interesting about this is I can't remember if it was Universal that said it or somebody else. Oh, it was Mark Woodbury that using AI to essentially do maintenance more efficiently on rides. Like basically, it can look at certain things and it can alert you that you need to do maintenance on X, Y, and Z. So I think maintenance on attractions has come a long ways. Obviously, the tech on attractions has, but in the past 10, 15 years, I think going forward, it'll improve even more with technology to prevent stuff just like this. Like other, obviously of just the ride itself being the issue of not having something malfunction.
Oh, 100%. I want to ask you about another thing that's going on, not typically this, but um in Islands of Adventure. It's been also another hot topic about Poseidon's Fury and that whole
Mhm.
area. It's only 5 acres, and it's next to, as far as I know, because I've never been out there, but it's next to Harry Potter, and then I forgot what else it's next to, but 5 acres is not
Seuss Landing is the other side of it.
okay. Seuss Landing. It's not a lot of room. So it's kind of like what our situation here in Hollywood is between the Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift Coaster getting constructed. And then on the other side, you got Harry Potter and Hogsmeade. And right in the middle, you got Simpsons, which both coasts are losing that IP due to licensing rights with the Walt Disney Company and 21st Century Fox. Um, do you think a different IP can go into the Lost Continent, or do you think honestly it would be more proactive to expand Harry Potter or Seuss Landing in that footprint?
The thing that I will just say it was brought to my attention. I'll put it this
Sure.
way. It was talked about when Epic was built. Universal moved a lot of backstage areas over to Epic Universe to free up where you could go into areas before that you couldn't due
Sure.
to the storage and all sorts of stuff, maintenance. I think they have a lot more room to go back than it's currently built. I believe some of those backstage areas are either not there anymore or could be moved over to Epic Universe or somewhere else. So I think they might have more room than just the 5 acres they currently have. So I don't know how much room is back there, but if you look overhead, it would give them some more space, basically make that land deeper. I
Okay.
don't believe that they're going to do a Hogsmeade expansion. And I guess you could say, do we need more Harry Potter at this point? And I think
Probably.
there's some questions with the reboot coming up and they just added another Harry Potter land in Epic Universe. I think it's from everything I have heard, and again, this is a very fluid situation. I do believe it's going to be Pokemon that goes in here is the leading rumor there. And I think that they're able to go back further. So the land currently it's 5 acres. It might end up being, 7 or 8 acres when it's all said and done.
Well, see, it's funny you mention that because Seuss Landing, as far as I know, that's kind of like based off Dr. Seuss, right? And the
Yes.
Grinch and all. Okay.
Yep.
So something like Pokemon would actually fit in that area pretty damn well because you have two animated properties right next to each other. So it'd make almost
Yeah.
perfect sense to do so.
I think people will get mad if Pokemon goes in because there is the underlying theme that Islands of Adventure is everything is based off of a book.
Yeah.
But I've also said too, I don't know how married to that Universal is. And obviously, if they go with Pokemon, they're not going to be. But that's why a lot of people had said, like, I mean, that's when the big criticism of Zelda going in there was that it's not based off of a book. But I don't think Universal is going to like not do a land that they want to do because of that. And because that's not something they really like openly talk about. It's just sort of like the fans understand that. And I don't know how much they'll actually speak to that.
Definitely. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Like I said, I'm going to be out there in March, and obviously it's probably going to be walled off and already starting demo at that point. But
They turned off the fountain today that has
really,
on the Zeus fountain or whatever. They turned that
uh,
off. They had
oh,
walls up, and the wall's been going up and down. So
yeah,
I don't. I mean, Universal's official statement is that we're just tearing this down for future development if we decide to do something. I'm like, I don't believe you for a second. Like, I don't believe you're going to tear a whole land down. Just be like, it's like leveling a house and being like, I don't know, maybe I'll build another one day. And you're like,
yeah,
okay, I don't know if I'm. But the
yeah,
sad thing is, I think as well is Mythos is going to be something different. I just hope they don't touch the menu.
I know. The menu looks pretty fire.
Oh, dude, it's so good. And then the other Wallen Ballin came in on the live stream a couple weeks ago, and apparently the best thing there is the grilled cheese because it has what is that called? It's a not pork belly in with the grilled cheese
Oh,
sandwich. And I
oh
was like,
man.
"Oh, that sounds good." But I have had the lamb burger, and like they've got a dip. Like everything there is that I've had is fantastic.
Oh, I bet. Well, it's interesting because from pictures and videos I've seen online, the restaurant inside is just absolutely breathtaking.
It's like you're eating in a cave.
That's awesome.
It's really cool. And then if you're sit on the
Awesome.
outside, you can sit along the water and you can kind of
Oh,
see over
that's
the lagoon
so
there.
cool.
Yeah. And Lucas said Pokemon's going to be huge. Is Pokemon bigger than anything Disney could do? Honestly, Luca is into anime. People
Yeah,
don't understand how big anime is. I'm not an anime fan, but I can tell you as somebody who just looks at the numbers, what was it, Demon Hunter that just came out, has already made more money than Superman.
I
And
know.
it's
Isn't that
not like
nuts?
it's not like Demon Hunter has been this like mass acceptance on like a normie level.
Oh
So
yeah.
I think Pokemon, I've said for a long time, I think Pokemon will be absolutely massive. I actually think, I don't know if this is a hot take, I think Nintendo potentially could be bigger for Universal than the Wizarding Worlds have been. Because I
Oh,
think
I think so.
Nintendo and anime and all these things, they're only going to continue to grow in popularity. Everything's getting ready to shift to video games. And you're talking about Hollywood. And I think that it's going to be absolutely huge if that ends up being the case. I think Pokemon's going in somewhere. And I think when it does, yeah, I think that'll be huge.
I I I I personally totally agree with that. My only thing is with the international parks because you got Universal Japan, you got Universal Singapore, you got Universal Beijing. So three Universal Asian parks, and then you're going to have Universal UK. How much how much anime influence do you really want in the domestic parks? Because you kind of almost want to keep those separated. So it entices people to go experience the international parks.
I
So
get that. Yeah, I get that argument. I just don't think it's feasible for a lot of people to travel overseas for these things. And given as well how anime and manga is really starting to become, I mean, I think it already is huge domestically, but it's only going to. I think if you're looking at this from, if you were looking at like a stock, I think you're still at the early stages of this thing going up. And so I think it makes sense. You could have different types of properties because I think anime is going to be one of those things. It's just going to be big all over the globe. And to me, it makes a lot of sense to tap into it domestically and to give it a test run. I mean, I think Pokemon is the safest one you could do. There have been rumors about One Piece going in here. I think One Piece is a much bigger risk than Pokemon. Pokemon's
yeah,
well established. Kids love it. Adults played it. It's kind of a mix between anime and video games. So it almost is like a perfect thing to put into the theme parks. And then from there, like, FanFest had One Piece. You can start testing things with merchandise, which I think Universal does a lot. Is they look at merchandise sales to kind of get an idea of like where people are, what they're wanting to see. Because I actually think One Piece would make way more sense in Lost Continent, or excuse me, Toon Lagoon, given
yeah.
that it's like water based. You could retheme that, and then if you had One Piece in there, you'd sell so much merch. It'd be
Oh,
insane.
I
And right now, Toon Lagoon doesn't sell any merch. I mean, nobody's buying Betty Boop stuff for the most part. You might get a couple of sales a day, but or
yeah.
Rocky and Bullwinkle. So I think that is something I think would make a lot more sense if they went with One Piece. But like I said, I don't know a lot about anime.
Me neither.
I need people to get what. Here's what I need to get in anime. I need a simplified like top 5, top 10 beginner list to get into it. That's
Sure.
what I need because you look at anime, it's like looking at the ocean and you're like, I don't even know where to start with this because One Piece has like 30 seasons and I'm like, I don't have time for any of this. Like, I just need a beginner's guide of like, okay, I like superheroes. I like stuff. I think there's some ones I've seen like that would be cool, but that's what I need personally to get into it. But
Definitely. And you know something to add to the One Piece story is OG says it time and time again on his videos, whether we're all doing a live stream together or he's doing a video with George, is to this very day, he still is just mind blown how One Piece made just a dot of an appearance for FanFest nights at Universal Hollywood, and how so many people went crazy, not only for the merch, but the meet and greets, and so many people were doing cosplays. So the market's there.
Oh
They
yeah.
can nail that down within no time at all and freaking just print money like crazy.
Yeah.
It would be fantastic.
And I think if we know this talking about it, I think Universal knows this, if I were to
Oh,
guess. And I do think they go that direction.
well,
Oh, Lucas said Pokemon cards have outpaced the S&P 500 the past 10 years. That's crazy.
oh, I believe it. I believe it.
I believe it. I believe it. That's just insane. If you like, that's my thing too. I remember when Bitcoin hit, and I was like, "Oh, I'll buy a little bit," and then I never did. And then you look at it now, and you're just like, "What in the world?" Like, I could have got like, if I would have bought like $50 worth back in the day, I'd be just on a beach somewhere right now. But you know,
Oh, heck yeah. Oh man. Joe M asks, do you think Universal will keep Simpsons longer? And he followed up by saying there is a new Simpsons movie coming out. Do you
you
think
know,
that's a coincidence?
I'm surprised that the Simpsons movie is coming out. I haven't watched the Simpsons in so long. When I was a kid, it was like that show that it was like Beavis and Butthead and the Simpsons. My mom was always like it was weird. My mom would let me watch movies like Major League, but like I couldn't watch Beavis and Butthead, and I was like, okay, whatever. But then Simpsons kind of fell into that. I think they got a wrap there for a bit.
Sure.
There was that's interesting because I wonder, does Universal, like, if they didn't have any plans in the next 5 years or so to do anything with the Simpsons area, they may want to just keep it like it's not going to be there in the next 10 to 20 years, but they just say, yeah, we'll come around to this land in like 5 years. But would Disney extend that deal given the movie? And then you got to think too, if the movie comes out and it's successful, then people would want to go to theme parks to see the land. I don't even know if Disney would want to. That would be very interesting to know. I don't really know where that stands, if Universal even wants to, or if Disney would. So I don't really know.
You know what? It's a catch-22 because I saw the first Simpsons movie. I thought it was actually pretty good for what they came up with at the time. I don't know how this movie would do, knowing that Disney owns it, and obviously it's their name attached to this IP now. So there is no really off the walls type, scenes, comments, slurs.
Although
And
they did put out Deadpool under Disney's
true.
umbrella. And Deadpool was, I mean,
True.
to their credit, I was worried about that, but Deadpool and Wolverine didn't really hold anything back for the other ones. So I
No,
maybe they're willing to let that go.
maybe, but to answer your question, though, at least out here in Hollywood, again, good friend theme park wizard, he's been posting nonstop about permits, both here on the West Coast, the East Coast, out there where you're at. That there's been a lot of markings around our Simpsons area, especially the behind the show building and whatnot. So I personally think that our version, at least here in Hollywood, is going away within 5 years, if not sooner. There's been talks time and time again that once 2026 happens, which is only a couple months away, they are going to start the process of getting or stripping that IP away from Universal. I don't know about Orlando because obviously Orlando has a bigger footprint.
That
I
would
don't
be interesting if they did it in Hollywood and not Orlando.
Well, which would beg the question, would, like you said, would they extend the contract?
Yeah. Yeah. I lean toward that Disney wouldn't want to, just given that they like to have all their IPs in house, and they would throw. I think that if they had the Simpsons in their possession in terms of theme parks, I think they might throw up a meet and greet in Hollywood Studios.
Maybe.
I don't know if they would do. I don't think they're going to be building a Simpsons land or anything like
No,
that. But
God, no.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know where the appetite is on either end when it comes to that part, because it's not like this was negotiated before and they have a working relationship, because this was just inherited by Disney whenever they bought Fox, and
Sure.
Universal already had that deal before they bought it. So it's not like they can go back to being like, remember when we discussed this before? Bob Iger's like, I remember you made me pay $70 billion for Fox.
Oh
I
my
was like,
God.
hey, what's up, man? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think even if Disney reached out to Brian Roberts or the new CEO that's coming in, I don't think Universal will take the bait. I think they'll just say, hey, you guys already own the Simpsons IP. We're getting rid of it in our parks. We want nothing to do with it anymore. Have at it. You do whatever you want with it. We've had our time with it. See you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
I mean, I think at some point I would like to see them get rid of it. My wife hates The Simpsons Land because that's what replaced Back to the Future, and that's her favorite movie ever. So
Yeah.
for her, it's like she holds her breath like she's walking through a graveyard when she goes through there. But so it's like we rode the ride one time as a Simpsons, and she was so mad. She was like, "I hate it." So when we're in the parks, it's just like we just go through as quick as we can. Other than our kids like the little tilt-a-whirl thing, but outside of that, it's not a land that I care much about. So I would like to see something else come in there.
Oh, definitely. So it's something. I don't know what they could put there. At least for you guys, you have, like I said, you guys have a way bigger footprint.
Well, the rumor for the long time was Pokemon was going to go in there. That's why I was surprised to hear lately that Lost Continent is where Pokemon was being looked at, because that was the biggest rumor for like 3 years running. And so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what they would put there. Unless and then the other rumor that you have is the coaster is going to be the East Coast version of your guys' Fast and Furious coaster, which would free up Supercharged.
Yeah.
And then one of the rumors is Back to the Future could take over Supercharged. But I don't know. These are all very fluid rumors.
You know what? It's a possibility.
Oh,
I just don't like the carbon copy IP idea. I just don't like that.
It wouldn't be the same coaster. It wouldn't be the same coaster. But I think from everything I have heard, though, that it is basically going to be Fast and Furious. So, I mean, I guess I will look at it this way. If it gets rid of Supercharged, that's a win.
Sure. But,
so
the only thing I have to argue with that is, even if it was a different IP and it wasn't Fast and the Furious and they still got rid of Supercharged, I don't think anyone would be crying to have a Fast and Furious IP in the Orlando park.
No, not at all. But I get why Universal wants to use it, because it's a franchise that makes money.
Oh, sure.
And so if you're like, okay, you're going to put it in the parks, at the very least, if it's a high-end roller coaster that people love, the IP doesn't matter that much.
No.
So it's like, they're not going to care. It's kind of like Tron in Magic Kingdom. Sure. I don't think there's really a bunch of Tron people that are like, I love Tron, but they just like the ride itself. And Luke is trying to make everybody feel old in here. Jeez, I hate when people do that. They're like, the Nintendo 64 came out 50 years ago. I'm like, thanks a lot. Thanks. It's having a good day.
Yeah, that's true. Man, 19.
Listen, if you're telling me if I can go back to the 90s, I'm down.
Yeah, you're telling me buying Apple for, what was it, $4 a share, buying Bitcoin.
If you got in on Google ground floor, then you bought in Bitcoin. Yeah, you're gonna have 3 SpaceXs or something. Yeah.
I wouldn't even buy 3 SpaceXs. I would just own fucking Universal. Kidding me?
You just started. Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a good point. I would do that. So
hindsight 2020. Yeah.
Hey,
I like that.
Hey, I could play the insider trading game too.
I think that wasn't there a movie? Was it a Hot Tub Time Machine? I think it was Hot Tub Time Machine, where the guy went back and bought Google.
Yeah.
And he called it something different. I can't remember now. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
Yeah, but still, it's so funny though. What was I going to ask you? Oh, that's the last thing I was going to ask you. Has there been any rumblings or news about Epic Universe being part of the annual pass system out there yet?
I haven't heard anything. I think I've been saying for a long time it's going to be sometime well into 2026. But until they get those wait times down, I mean, if you look at the percentage of annual pass holders at Universal, which is a higher percentage than you have at Disney World, you're likely to put an extra 10,000 people-ish on average per day into Epic Universe.
Definitely.
I mean, I don't think you want that many people in that park at this point, because right now you still got these insanely high wait times. So I haven't heard anything. I think it's very much of I know that they are continually changing stuff based on feedback they're getting. But if they can't get those wait times down, I almost contend I could see them waiting until they add another attraction or two before they really bring in APs.
Well, see, that's something that I was going to bring up because obviously there's Epic Universe expansion happening at this moment. Um, so maybe if they build another one or two lands or something, um, that's probably when they'll address something like that. I did want to ask you one last thing about Epic Universe, though. That event space that's kind of going to be like an entertainment space, right off Celestial Park. Is it going to be kind of like an outdoor, like um stage area where they have concerts? They have what is that space going to be? You think?
So from what I have heard, it's not going to be that cool. I think it's mostly going to be corporate space for when people rent for conventions and stuff. Now it could be extra stuff, but from what I've heard, it's going to be like this corporate entertainment space potentially in the park.
Okay.
So I'm not holding out hope that it's going to be anything that's going to bring some sort of new entertainment
Yeah.
venue there. The one thing they
See,
could do that they haven't done is they initially had entertainment in Celestial Park that they got rid of it right before the park opened and haven't brought any of it back because they're supposed to be like storytellers. They're supposed to be.
why?
I don't know. It was like 2 or 3 weeks before the park officially opened. It was during previews. And they've had people sprinkle in here and there some music, but they haven't had all the stuff that they were going to have initially in there. So I've always felt they could bring that back in here and just try. It doesn't have to be a ride. You could bring in other things to try and just get people to do other stuff.
Sure. And see that's something that I'm not sure why they did that. Hopefully they'll put that back online. But regarding that entertainment space, I kind of feel that's just something that the theme parks, whether it's Universal or Disney in this case, I don't think they need spaces like that. It kind of takes away from the theme park space. I think if they want to have spaces like that, they have plenty other areas. Like they could find, uh, how can I put it? They can find spaces in like Islands of Adventures. You got the old Fear Factor live area. You got the old, motocross stage area. Why
Yeah.
couldn't they put something like that in those areas where it's not doing anything and leave spaces like we're talking about for Epic Universe for some type of entertainment, whether it would be a concert venue, which I thought would be fantastic because before we had Harry Potter out here in Hollywood, we had a big Gibson amphitheater and all the big names came there. And it was like a separate entrance from the theme park. And I kid you not, all the great bands play there. My dad tells me stories even to this day how he went there and went to go see bands like Bruce Springsteen and stuff like that. So I don't know why they would put something for corporate or some type of business rent out in the middle of a theme park. That doesn't make sense.
Well, a part of it is it's right next to the convention center. Epic Universe is. It literally is like maybe a 5-10 minute walk from it.
Sure.
And part of the reason they put Epic there is because it you can rent out a land and it's cut off the way they've got that set up.
Sure.
So they do corporate stuff there. Now, again, it could be something different. That's just what I have heard. I would agree with you from a theme park standpoint. I'm sure from a business standpoint, they're looking at extra money they can make. Big companies coming in because I think Orlando, it may be different now, but at one point they were number 2 worldwide in terms of conventions. So conventions can bring in a lot of money with businesses that have charge cards that are just like, hey, we'll rent out a land and whatever else. So
Sure.
I actually kind of wonder that wall that they're building on the backside of Stardust Racers near the water treatment facility.
Yeah.
I kind of think that could be an indication that may be the first thing they develop is that area there. Because I don't know why else you would put that there if you weren't planning on doing something relatively in the near future.
Yeah, it makes sense. Let me see if I could pull it up real quick. So, but You're not wrong though. It does kind of make sense what they want to do in that area, but let me see if this is it right here.
Because they made a little progress on it. I think there's like 1 or 2 sections last time I looked at it that are up. But
Well, this is the undeveloped version. Let me see if I can pull it up so that way we can see it. So
yeah,
this area right here, I don't know. You what's your thoughts on that? Do you think the way I'm seeing it, the aerial view, to be honest with you, they could probably fit maybe 3 lands, maybe even 4 lands if they develop it right in that footprint. It's pretty massive.
it is pretty massive. I'm curious what the acreage is back there. I don't know offhand, but obviously it's a huge piece of land that you could. I'd be curious on there where you would. I guess you'd put the entrance portal up. Yeah, you'd put the entrance portal up there because it goes to Celestial Park.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. I would assume that would all be for one land.
Oh, possibly.
I would assume, but
I wonder what it could be though, because that's a massive land. Like
it's a lot of land. And there's you've got that right next to it too. On Dark Universe, there's that expansion area where that's rumored to be like a creature from the Black Lagoon.
I'm still jealous about that.
Well, I hope they do it. Because I do. I was going to tell you because that ride system that is rumored to be for that is actually Dollywood's doing it. They've got a new ride opening in 2026 that I was talking to George. And I was like, we need to all go out there and check it out because Dollywood is a cool looking park. Plus, Silver City's not that far away. That's where I grew up. That's an awesome like mid tier theme park. But yeah, I would be very curious as to what IPs they end up going with for expansions. But when you look at where they're building that wall, and I mean, I get why, because right there you've got that water treatment facility, which is not the most magical thing to look at.
No,
which I wondered if they're doing that just because that may have been something they already planned to do, and they just got around to doing it now, or they're looking at kind of getting ready to prep the land for something.
Definitely.
But what I've heard though is that Super Nintendo World would be the thing that kind of gets the first expansion.
Well, see, it's funny you mention that because the way I'm looking at it is the way I'm looking at it is that's where I really honestly think Zelda should go. I really don't think Islands of Adventure should be a Zelda even location or even thought of. I think Zelda should go in this land. Personally.
I think Zelda, from what I've heard, Zelda is going to be an expansion off Super Nintendo World. So I do believe it's going to go in Epic Universe. So I think I agree. I think it makes a lot of sense to put it in Super Nintendo World.
Yeah. So it's oh god, dude.
Toon Lagoon was outdated when they built it.
God.
They do have the AP lounge over there. Now I will say the best in-park burger I've ever had is actually Wimpy's, which is in that area, which is it's very surprising. It's actually really good. But yeah, that land for the most part is just sort of a walk-through area.
That's interesting. So as we're looking at this, that's that expansion pad. It's 20.50 acres.
Ooh, that's a lot. Oh, sorry, that was Wizarding World's expansion area that I was looking at. Yeah, okay. I was on the wrong side of the park. Yeah, 20. Man. Okay, you're looking at most of these. Yeah, that'd probably be 2 lands.
Yeah.
Because How to Train Your Dragon is the biggest one, and that's 13.6.
Yeah.
So you probably would have 2 lands back there. Yeah, that's a lot of space. I mean, then you've got all of them have expansion areas, I think, except for I think they all do have expansion lands they could do. So this park is it's just gonna get bigger, but that's a lot of space to work with back there for sure.
Yeah, and for classic monsters, they have 3.25, which is easily enough room to fit a creature of Black Lagoon. I think the second biggest is the expansion pad for Super Nintendo World. So it's going to be very interesting how they're going to make Zelda and how big that's going to be.
I think it'll be pretty big. It would be my guess. And that other expansion pad is where that entertainment venue right there is going to go on some level. I think that's it there. Yeah. Well, then you look at the whole landmass around Epic Universe. They've got space for hotels. There's potential they could do another theme park there. They have a lot of land to work with, not even just in Epic Universe. So I think that there's been rumors for a long time of like a City Walk 2.0 going in to have its own little City Walk area around there, which I think would be a good thing if they did that.
It's really funny. I actually think that would be fantastic to have something like that, because if we look at
Yeah.
Google Maps, obviously this is before the park opened, but if you're looking at it like this, you're absolutely right. There is a lot of land they can play around with.
Yeah, because you got areas, and some of it's earmarked. I think last time I checked, there's like at least 2 or 3 hotels that are planned, and then
Wow.
there's these spaces where, and I've said before, I wouldn't be shocked if they put one of the kids resorts in this area because it wouldn't take up that much land. You can build them pretty cheap, and then you can go after that kid demographic that Universal is doing much better with, but they haven't really. If you had a dedicated kids area or a kids land, then you could tout 4 parks. And then you wouldn't have to use they are limited in space compared to, say, Disney World. You wouldn't have to put in kiddie attractions into the main parks
No,
that could take away from that and just have a dedicated kids space.
definitely. Well, let me ask you this, since we're looking at this, and obviously I'm sure it'd be a pain in the butt to do, but in the top right hand corner, you do have the treatment facility. If for whatever reason they did move that and they have that space, that green area next to it, that's a lot of room as well. Would they ever move something like that? I don't know. And it'd probably be
I don't
logistically a
know.
nightmare to move it.
You'd be dealing with government. I mean, I guess I'll never say never because I think as much as Orange County has loved the tax revenue that comes in from Epic, since, I mean, they've broken records every single month since Epic's been open. I guess they could if they saw enough revenue that could be part of it, but that would be I don't know what you would do in the meantime. If you would almost have to build the other facility first and then tear this one down.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's possible, but I haven't heard anything that would say that's like a something that's a realistic thing they're looking at. But
No.
I guess never.
But if they did remove it, and let's say they did move it, they could probably put it way in the hell up here, far away, and they could probably even use half this land as well to expand out that way. So it's a possibility.
Yeah. Now there'll be a lot. I mean, I think that Universal next decade is going to do some very aggressive moves for sure.
100%. And I think literally the jigsaw puzzle is really going to take off in Hollywood. I think if they execute Hollywood with all the expansions they want to do, with the 2 hotels, the new security system, and hope to God, cross my fingers, a new entranceway into the park instead of the old school dinosaur, thumbprint scanner nonsense system they need to get rid of and update to the 21st century. I think if they can execute that park the way that they're saying they want to, Universal has a bright future. And again, looking at the UK park with what they want to rumored to bring with Back to the Future, Lord of the Rings, some type of James Bond, either attraction or stunt show, it's just going to be mind blowing.
Yeah, I think it's wild. I mean, I think it's great. I like OG's talked about before. We've talked about before. It's a great time to be into theme parks with all this stuff going on. And then
100%.
Yeah, I just wonder with like what Universal. If you think what's crazy is you think about, at least in Orlando, as much ground as they've made up the past decade, they still have so many underutilized spaces in the existing parks.
Yeah,
there's the Fear Factor area. There's Toon Lagoon. There's that big show building in Toon Lagoon. You've got stuff all over the place that they haven't utilized, and that's before you even bring in Epic on top of it. So it's like once you throw that in there, I mean, they've got a lot of area they can develop in the next 10 to 20 years, and it'll be, I think it'll be crazy.
Well, I see something brewing. I see that Epic has already started their expansion process. Once they're done with it, once they build what they want to build there, I think their focus is going to go back to islands where a lot of these vacant areas are at and start developing them.
Yeah.
But company wide, I think they're going to focus on obviously the UK park because the kids resort in Texas is pretty much done at this point. They're putting finishing touches on that as far as I'm
Mhm.
concerned. And then Hollywood is going to be the next biggest project because our urgency is the international crowds coming in for a 2 week span for the Olympics. So I think between
That's a good point. Yeah.
yeah, I think there are three areas they're going to be really hardly focused on is Hollywood, Epic Universe expansion, and the UK park. Everything after that is kind of just like, okay, we'll just kind of just keep pushing it along until we're ready. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Well, that's actually why I don't think that Comcast is going to make a play for Warner Brothers. I know people. I mean, I would love it from an IP standpoint. If they went to, I think they'd have a lot of legal red tape to try and purchase it due to like the monopoly type stuff. But I also think too, they've already got a lot of debt and all the stuff they want to do in the parks. If they had to finance to buy Warner Brothers, I think it would hamper what they've got planned for the parks. And I
Yeah,
think at this point they are full steam ahead when it comes to the theme parks. So I don't think that they will actually do try and actually make a play for Warner Brothers for that reason because I want to see him continue to do the park stuff, and I think that's the thing they're looking at as their linear TV side falls off, as cable falls off. The
yeah,
theme parks are becoming a very big portion of the business that's only going to continue to grow.
yeah. And Kiko Lucas said, I don't want Netflix to be to buy Warner Bros. But I can assure you, at some point, one or another, I can assure you, once they start getting towards the black, for the parks and just funding in general, I don't honestly think by Netflix buying Warner Brothers, it's gonna last long. I hate to even say that, but I don't think it's gonna last long. I think it's gonna last long enough, and then Universal at some point will be at a better position to possibly purchase them.
Maybe I actually think Paramount's going to end up with it regardless. I think the Ellison money that they're just going to throw their weight around and they're just going to whatever it takes to get it. I think they'll do it. And I'm very curious what Paramount is going to do under this new leadership because they seem
Yeah.
very aggressive. We won't know for a while, but I'm like, hey, somebody coming in making some big moves. I mean, I don't think Warner Brothers is one of the most mismanaged studios out there. They were on top of the world in the early 2000s, and since then
That's
it's
true.
just been a slew of just bad decisions where they have a ton of IPs. So there's a ton of potential there. I would actually like to see what Paramount would do. I'm very curious with what they might be able to pull off.
Yeah. The only reason, I advocated at the very beginning for Universal to buy Warner Brothers out was for the Hollywood park. If you look at the map, Warner Brothers is literally uh, right across the street.
Oh
And one
yeah, yeah.
and one of the things that was talked about numerous of times was moving all the production from the Universal lot, moving it over there and give Universal the opportunity just to expand the theme park footprint by almost tenfold. Now, the problem by doing that is, eventually if Universal didn't want to give up Warner Brothers and resell it to someone else, now you have to figure out how to move all that production back onto the lot
Right.
when you already have theme park space there now.
I mean, I think if everything was all even, I would love for Comcast to get it because I think you'd get some awesome stuff that come to the parks. I've just always looked at it as I just don't see it as a feasible thing that'll happen. I'll put it this way: I'd be shocked if Comcast actually made a move for it, but they could. But I personally would be surprised by it.
Well, see, you bring up a good point because obviously Brian Roberts, who is kind of sort of still the CEO, but we have a new CEO coming in for Comcast.
They're co-CEO.
Yeah, the co-CEO. So I'm
I,
kind of
by the way,
curious
my
what this
conspiracy
angle is.
theory there. Yeah, my conspiracy theory is that they did that for Kavanaugh because somebody was trying to poach him,
Yeah,
and it could have been Disney.
it could have. It could have. Well, look at Disney right now. Josh Tomorrow, who we all thought didn't really stand a chance in hell of possibly being the next CEO, is looking pretty damn good for the next CEO spot.
I think he's going to get it. I do.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means though. I did a video on that too. I was like, maybe he'd be good, but I don't know.
It's questionable. I don't
Yeah.
know. I would have to see what his intentions are. And personally, for me, there should be a stipulation in there somewhere in his contract. If things just start going downhill, of course, they have the board, but I think there needs to be an option on the table. If things start going downhill, they would use Dana Walden as a co-CEO and have both of them together if things start going hinky wire.
Yeah, I like a dual CEO setup. I think that works best for Disney. I still think there's a dark horse chance you got Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs could be brought in
Yeah,
because they have been consulting with Iger. And I like when Keegan said there, I think and that's the thing, we don't really know with Diamaro what he would do. Maybe he would come in with I've said too, you need somebody with a bold vision that is going to take the company in a direction kind of like Eisner did, where you actually want to go somewhere instead of just being so reactionary. But I get at least I don't know how he would do. I don't know Josh, so who knows. But my outside looking in is that he would kind of just keep things status quo. But I think even if you do that, I think in the short term you're fine. But I think if as many things are changing when it comes to AI in Hollywood and the theme parks are getting more competitive, I do think you need to be bold and take some initiative and go a certain way. And I just don't know if Josh is that guy. Maybe he is. I think he's just an unknown commodity at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what his intentions are. I hope they're good intentions, but with the AI aspect, the only thing I'm concerned about is there's so much controversial about it. Like, for example, you have that Stan Lee hologram that kind of
Dude,
makes
that thing was terrible.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. And then you have this new thing now where it's a female actress that's an AI, and you got Hollywood celebs pissed off to no end saying, hey, why are you going to include some AI girl? Where's my cut in that?
Yeah.
And that's a whole separate video.
It really is. I have, which, if you ever want to talk about, we can do a separate one for sure, because there's a lot of stuff there. But it's like, I do wonder about the audience's appetite if something is known to be an AI commodity in a video, like in a movie or a show, how audiences would accept it or not.
Well, I could tell you one thing, not to be biased, but my dad was fooled. He's all like, when I saw that originally, I thought that was an actress. I didn't think that was AI. So he was fooled. So
I have noticed boomers get fooled by AI very easily. Like my mom will somebody will show me something. I'm like, that's not real. How do you know? And I'm like, it's that uncanny valley, because you're just like, I think we're used to video games too, because video games have come a long ways, but it still doesn't look like a person.
No,
like, you can just tell. And my whole theory is human beings have souls, and there's just something within other humans where you can pick up on something that is also has a soul. And so I don't know if you'll ever get there to where AI just is it just looks just like a human. But yeah, boomers will get fooled, or like the voice stuff. My father-in-law was like, did you hear this? And he's playing it. And I'm like, that's not real. And he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, it's not real. Now it'll probably, the voice stuff, I've played around with it on doing some stuff. It's getting better. I cloned my own voice to see if it could sound like me, and it kind of does. Like,
interesting.
It's like in the past year, it's definitely come a long ways. But
wow.
And by the way, I agree with Kike. He says, I think having a park guy, a CEO in general, not Chapek, is a good thing for the parks. It also makes sense. The parks make the majority of the money for the business.
Sure.
I mean, it makes more than even the movies and the TV combined. So it makes sense that that's the most successful part of your business, that you would have a parks guy running it. I don't think the parks have gone in the direction of, what's best for the guests under DiMauro. But I've also had the question, how much of that is DiMauro and how much of that is Iger or Jeff Vail kind of overriding the park decisions? I suppose we would find out if DiMauro became CEO.
That's true. And the way I see it is, I feel like DiMauro can do a lot of great things for the company, for the parks, for entertainment. On the other hand, you got Dana Walden, who has been looked at strongly for taking this position as well. Um, she's more of the entertainment aspect of the company. So with her not having that much theme park experience, hardly at all, if at all, I think Tomorrow would be the better choice. It's just, again, it's kind of hard to judge what he's going to do. You know what I mean? Because he was under Bob Iger the first time, then he was under Chapek, then he was under Bob Iger again. Now he's being considered for the next CEO. It's questionable, at least for me, because whenever I see something for a company as big as the Walt Disney Company or other companies, and a new CEO comes in, I always question it because I'm like, I don't want to jump to the gun and say the guy or lady, whoever it might be, is going to be fantastic, because I might regret my comments. I like to kind of just restrain myself, publicly say I'm not sure about the person, but I'm open to see what they offer, and then make my
Yeah.
decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and both of them have an unknown quantity to them. I think when you're looking at Josh coming in running the park, there's questions about how he would run the movie side. That's a less, but bringing Josh in is a less of a risk because of given the parks and the money it makes. It's a bigger risk having Dana Walden run it. And what does she know about theme parks? And I think that, because what if she comes in and just absolutely, I mean, and again, you're talking about a period of time. Disney's never been in this position on the theme park side.
No.
Universal is only going to continue to be more competitive, and they very well could be heading toward the pack that they're basically co-leaders in the space eventually. And that doesn't mean 50-50. You're looked at as a co-leader if you're around 30%, 35%. So if Disney says 70, Universal's 35%, how do you navigate those waters? And if she doesn't have any theme park experience, that could be a disaster. So I actually think it's much less risk to go with Josh, but I still would contend I think a dual CEO setup, somebody, maybe Dana Walden would stay around. She kind of runs the movie side and Josh isn't as involved over there. Like, you can delegate that stuff on some level.
See, that's what I like about the dual CEO position. Josh can focus on the parks, maybe even the cruise line, and then Walden can just focus on all the media aspect of the Disney company, which I would be fine with. So again, I'm going to throw a question mark at it.
Yeah.
I'm going to give Josh the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to see what his intentions are, and who knows, we might get an announcement at D23 this next year about it. We might.
It's supposed to be in 2026. I don't think they've said exactly when. So they got to make a decision sometime soon. Yeah. And then exactly. If it's Josh, does Dana Walden stay on? Is the other question. She may leave.
She might. And does that give possibly other competitors the opportunity to scoop her up? Possibly a Comcast, possibly Netflix, or Paramount, or I want to say Warner Brothers, but Paramount, Netflix.
Yeah. I mean, that you kind of have those musical chairs with that. I mean, that's when Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs left when they didn't get the CEO spot and started Candle Media. So, exactly. That definitely could happen. But no, that'll be interesting to see. And I'm the same way with you. I'll see what they do, what their vision is. And I mean, Josh does have the whole image side down. I will put it that way. And I think that was what Annette Chapek never made sense to me, because he just always looked like a villain. And you're just like, the Disney CEO's different. Like, he could have ran a lot of other companies, probably been fine. But Disney's got that, you got Walt and Michael Eisner. You got to be in front of the camera and this whimsical. Josh is good with people. I remember I met him and he was talking to me, and it was like, it felt like it was just me and him. And he's like, I care what you think. Because it was opening day of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Yeah. And he was outside meeting people. So I walked by and I saw him. I was like, and I'm not really big. I don't really go up to celebrities and stuff, but he just happened to be there. And I was like, hey, and I shook his hand and he goes, what did you think about the ride? I was like, it was good. And he goes,
wow.
No, tell me more. And he was like, no, tell me more. Like, what did you really think? Did you have anything you would change? And like, he was just into the conversation. I'm like, I don't believe he really cared about what I had to say, but he made me think he did. Like, he's very good with people. So
yeah, see, I kind of like that, because when we had the 70th out here, and the actual 70th, not the May one, but the July one, and Demaro and Iger were there, and they're hanging out with guests on Main Street, for a little bit. Obviously, their security is pretty aggressive, trying to shove them backstage before an entourage of swarms of
Trying to keep
people
George
come.
trying to keep George away from Josh is what he's doing.
I had to restrain George, but I won't talk about that. No, but Josh was very happy to meet guests. He came out actually multiple times that morning to walk around Main Street, so that was pretty awesome. I didn't really expect Iger to do that much because obviously he's the face of the company, but the mere fact, like you said, Demaro likes to be in front of cameras, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially when you're contending to be the next CEO.
Yeah.
If you kind of like that aspect, you like that kind of attention to yourself, hey, by all means, go for it. You know what I mean?
Well, and also Demaro does have the advantage of he's not looked at as political one way or the other.
No,
he's very apolitical. He's just associated with the parks. And
that's perfect.
Walden is, and it's a known thing, she's very good friends with Kamala Harris. And I think there could be, and I've actually heard after that could be a lot of baggage they're looking at. And I think Josh is a much more just, he's got the squeaky image. He doesn't have a lot of baggage.
No,
There's question marks about the experience, but I could see why they would go with him from if they're choosing from internal candidates.
Well, like you said, the biggest phrase you said out of that was political. I kind of felt Iger after he left the first time around. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, even to this day, is breathtaking. Should they have added more? Yes, they should have. They didn't, but that's besides the point. But for what he brought to not only Walt Disney World, but the Disneyland Resort with Star Wars was fantastic. But the biggest problem I had with Disney and Iger being in charge is when the whole don't say gay bill thing came out in Florida and him fighting with Ron DeSantis. Personally,
that was Chapek that kind of got into that one.
Well, he did, but I always blame Iger because I've said it time and time again. Iger really did not step away from the company.
No, he was still chairman of the board.
Yeah, he was the puppet master. So I blame him just as much as I blame Chapek.
Yeah.
So he was involved at some aspect with that. And like you said, with Demaro, he doesn't have that type of baggage. So that's actually a plus for him, a major plus. Because I don't think a company like the Walt Disney Company really needs to get themselves involved with politics. That's the last thing they should.
I mean, I would prefer, like, especially you're talking about heads of companies. I just don't know their politics. I'm fine with just. I would just rather be like talking about the stuff they do in the parks or the company. And it's like, yeah, if I never know Josh's politics, I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
and I could see that's as to why they go that way. But Vegas Disney said an interesting thing because it should be both. Let them free in their own lane without Iger.
Yes,
that is my worry, though. I don't know if either one of them will be really free. That's the thing that you have to worry about is like how much of, because he's also going to be consulting for like 2 years after this.
Exactly.
So he's going to be hovering around there. And does he still own the board? Is it just a Chapek 2.0 type of situation?
I think it is.
And that's just like, and then at that point, it's like, but at this point too, as the legacy driven as Iger is, you simply cannot just pull the emergency chute after 2 or 3 years if it's Josh and be like, I'm coming back in. Be like, no, like you're done. Like just go on the yacht and just go away at that point. So I do think, given how it went last time, that surely there's much more of a, and this is why they brought Gorman in. And everything I've heard, that guy is a very serious dude. And it's good at this whole secession process. So, I guess we will see.
No, 100%. And I want to give a shout out to my first ever super chat.
Oh my gosh. Celebration.
Yes, sir. Geek Village says, I love this You know what's funny about this, Geek Village? Me and Jared, seriously, we could continue this conversation for another 2 hours, I kind of feel, but obviously I have to go to bed. He has to go to bed. I
Yeah,
have
we
work in the
definitely
morning.
could. This is
But
how it, by the way, if people wonder, like when we get done with like live streams with like us and OG, half the time we're talking after the live stream for another like hour. And it's just
yeah,
like that's happened a couple of times where I'm just like, it's 1 a.m. I gotta go to bed.
yeah, no, but shout out to Hen Geek Village for
Oh, that's
that.
awesome.
Really do appreciate that. Kiki and Lucas says, I agree that Disney should not be involved with politics, but Imagineering Disney films and Pixar has a very large contingent of LGBTQ, Bob Gurr, Howard Ashman, for example. What do you think about that?
I mean, they do. I don't know. That's the interesting thing too of like whoever comes in, because Disney has gone a direction in the past. It's been talking about, I'd say probably 2 or 3 years where they've definitely tried to steer clear of those things, especially on the kids programming side. That's been met with a lot of resistance
Sure.
from some people inside the company. That'll be very interesting to see. Like if it is Josh and they want to go whichever direction they want to go,
Yeah.
is Josh like I never felt Iger. He doesn't want to be viewed as a hatchet man.
No.
And I feel like in a lot of companies, like you need a like in the 80s, they would bring in a dude that was just in there to like cut jobs and cut waste, and then they get rid of him, and then they bring in the CEO they want, who's like the hey, like what so you could see Josh being that guy coming in, be like, I'm everybody's friend. I'm here to do good stuff. Yeah, that's an interesting thing of like, does Josh what would his direction be? And then if it was in a different direction, people inside the company, would it be something that they would go at him with, and how would he handle it? I don't know. That's a very unknown commodity at this point. But I think what you're starting to see a lot of that stuff though, that's where AI also comes in, and they have outsourced a lot of that animation to Canada. I think because of some of the internal stuff going on. So that part is very interesting as well, because you could see just a lot more of that get sped up too.
Yeah, no, 100%. And also shout out to Kiki and Luca for the $4.99 super chat.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, we're on the roll. No, but you're not wrong though. AI is really gonna, it's really gonna. I kind of see it. It's gonna be a big factor in the theme parks in the next. I don't know. What would you say, Jared? Maybe 10, 15 years from now? We're
In the
really
theme parks itself?
Yeah, I think it's
Well,
really gonna make a big appearance.
Well, there's already Universal has a patented system that uses AI. They haven't installed it, but it's
Sure.
It monitors guest behavior, and basically it
Really?
would alert. It supposedly can pick up on people that like jump lines, are smoking, drinking too much, cutting people off. So I think there will be AI utilized for park maintenance, for guest behavior to like mitigate bad guests and things like that. In the parks, that's where it gets kind of interesting, because it's like, could you do personalized experiences on rides? Like you probably could. It'll probably get pretty wild the next 10 years, but the next 5 years could get really interesting.
You know what's interesting to me? One of the attractions that's getting built at Avengers Campus out here in DCA is the Stark Flight Labs. And how you'll be able to interact with your favorite Avenger, whether it's Tony Stark, whether it's Captain America, maybe it's the Hulk or Ant-Man, or so on, so on, so on. I wonder if AI is going to play a part in that.
It's possible. I don't know. I mean, Magic, yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. The capabilities, I guess, it would just be in terms of how do you sync the system to like a Magic Band or something, but it's definitely possible.
Oh, 100%. And Mr. Mill Toast.
Mr. Milk Toast.
Mr. Milk Toast. I love that name. Awesome.
That's a cool name. The milkiest of toast opinion, like it's just hot take. It's like not hot takes, just milk toast takes.
That's awesome. With the stronger union protections, one wonders why Canada is cheaper, as it concerns the outsourcing of work.
I agree. I was shocked when they did it, but they outsourced. I think it was Disney Animation. I don't know if it was the entire studio, but they outsourced a ton of it to Canada.
That's awesome.
But I'm guessing maybe it's just bypassing. well, and the rumor at the time was that there was internally there was a lot of I guess you could just say they kept getting a lot of pushback on stuff, and that's what I had heard. So I don't know. Maybe they're willing to pay more to take it there for not that. I don't know, but I mean, I've messed around with Sora. Have you seen that stuff yet? The new Chat GPT video thing?
No, I have not.
Bro, we're cooked. We are cooked.
Are you serious?
That thing is, I will send you some stuff. Like Seymour gave me an invite. If you want an invite, I can send one over to you. It's freaking insane what this thing can do. Like, absolutely insane. You could literally use it to create an entire movie that looks like a Pixar movie. So it's not a matter of if they could. It's just going to really come down to when does it make enough sense for them to use AI to save money where they don't care about the negative publicity they would get, in my opinion. I think that's what that comes down to, because if they're able to do it, and if they would lose jobs, and once that first company does it, I think you'll see other ones do it, because I think it's already here where you could.
Well, see, it's funny you mention that, because like I said, with that AI girl that's, being, negatively commented about in Hollywood, me and my dad were talking the other night, and I said to him, I said, well, it's interesting they're even looking at something like that, because if you think about it, imagine how much money Hollywood and these film companies could save by using less actors and more AI versions. You would save on costs like crazy. So instead of paying Tom Cruise, $400 million, you might pay the AI company that created this female chick that might kick ass just like Tom Cruise, maybe 40 million, 50 million tops. Can you imagine how much money they would save? But again, I could see why, Hollywood, the actors, actresses are pissed about this, because in the next 5-10 years, they could be without a job.
Yeah, I actually think there will be probably a demand for real human stuff. I actually think that will be a byproduct of AI, because I think this is why theme parks will continue to grow, is because humans want human interaction. And I think this is why theme parks have become more popular, because it's actually something you experience. And I think that's the question you have, is like, will AI get to the point where audiences are willing to sit through an entire movie knowing that it's made by the whole thing's AI if it's supposed to look live action? But I could see a studio popping up and be like, we do everything human, we don't use AI, and I could see offshoots of things like that happening. For sure. So that'll be interesting to see how it impacts, where it impacts, and then it'll create, it will take out jobs, but it will create jobs. It undoubtedly will create, especially if you're working with AI on some level. It's just what that looks like at this point. I don't know, but it is. I was going to try and bring up that Sora thing, but I can't log in on this computer. But dude, some of the stuff you can make, like,
it's creepy,
dude. It's hilarious. Like, you can literally make I told it to make me an intro to a 1980s video game, but themed to capture the magic, and it looked just like a real game. It's you push start and you go. I had it make me a 1990s retro commercial for Epic Universe, and it looks like it was from the 1990s. It's crazy.
That's insane. Definitely send me that content.
I'll send it over to you. Mr. Milktoast has a good one. He goes, before movies, actors were near the bottom of the social ladder. After movies, actors rose to the top. They fear reverting to the mean. That's a good point. If you look historically, actors they were looked at as liars. Yeah, they just weren't trustworthy.
And then Kiki and Luca has this question for you.
It's the Sora app, which is it's Sora 2. It's from ChatGPT. So in the past month, you've had Google come out with Nana Banana. I think that's why you say it. And then the Sora one came out. I think it launched on Thursday or Friday of last week. I think.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
Yeah, and then we're going to answer this last comment, but Toast says the use of live actors will most likely continue on as a niche, but only so many people can benefit from a niche.
Well, and that's why I think you're going to continue to see Hollywood contract.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they're going to contract. There's going to be, I think, with technology too, you're going to see a lot more independent studios pop up utilizing AI to narrow that gap. And I won't be shocked either in the next 10, 20 years, studios start launching stuff on like YouTube. You
Yeah.
can make ad money on it. You can join like it. I think it'll become much closer to the consumer because to stay relevant, they're going to have to service demand that people want, especially with technology. And Hollywood for a long time operated basically like we're Hollywood. You're gonna see our stuff no matter what. And then as people have stopped doing that, I do think the reaction is they're just going to have to try and get as close as they can to the source. And as it is right now, YouTube is about the closest thing you can get. What's funny is I think one of the jobs and one of the or I guess careers, if you want to call it, which sounds ridiculous, that is going to become even bigger is like live streaming because people want to interact with somebody else. It's like I know theme park conductor is a real dude. And like I want to, it's like I think stuff like that will become much more in demand in the next like decade for sure.
I think what's going to happen, like you're saying, people are still going to want the person-on-person interaction, but I think AI is going to be there too, because we've seen it like with streaming, like Disney Plus, Hulu, Netflix, Paramount Plus, and so on and so on. And really, the TV aspect, like DirecTV, Dish, Charter, Xfinity, they're all dying out.
Yep.
It's like the dinosaur age for those things, and streaming's just hot.
Dude, like Disney holding on to ABC is like them having a 1980 beater car, and they're just like, no, maybe it'll go up in value. Like, bro, that thing's gonna be salvaged in like 3 years. Like,
Yeah, exactly, exactly my point. So I don't know, dude. I kind of feel like you said, a lot of people are gonna want to see still person to person content, but I think AI is going to be the second option. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot you could do with AI.
Well,
Lot.
it'll be like the internet. I mean, so many
Oh,
things
sure.
have the internet as a thing along with it that's either in the background or like this. I think AI will, it's just going to continue to do. I mean, the computing power of it is
Oh, it's
insane
insane.
of what you could do.
Oh, it's totally insane. But Jared, it has been an absolute fantastic time. Almost 3 hours. I know you joined around the hour and 40-minute mark. So it was a great conversation.
Yeah,
and,
man.
And I love having you on here. It was great to get your input about Stardust Racers. Hopefully, all I have to say about that is I already know that there's going to be protests and picketers outside Epic Universe. That's almost a given, probably led by Ben Crump and his funny group of I'm not even gonna say it, but
he's got like a fake mask on. He's like, oh yeah. I didn't think about that. I don't know if there will be. There could be protesters.
I think there will be. I have a funny feeling, but you're gonna see Epic Universe tomorrow be as crowded as it was opening day, because you're going to have news cameras in there. You're going to have content creators up the wing of
true.
Everyone filming and reporting and this and that, and so it's going to be crowded no matter what. And then talking about what we've been talking about with AI, talking about future of the theme parks, Epic Universe. Again, I think Hollywood is on a great track with building the new security hubs, bringing back nighttime entertainment, building the on-site hotel, getting ready for that international crowds that are going to be coming in to Southern California for 2 weeks. I think they're really banking on that. Epic Universe has a bright future, and like we both talked about, Universal Orlando, especially Islands, is going to go through a massive transformation once Epic is done. We're going to see a new a different type of IP base for the UK park, so I'm super excited about that. And to top it all off with the cherry on top, I'm super excited to actually hang out with you and your wife and Tommy Toon and George and OG 55 in Orlando for about 2 weeks. I cannot wait in March.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
That's going to be a blast. I'm going to have so much fun with that.
And the nice thing, it won't be too hot then either. You're going to have a good time. It's like it'll be decently warm, but nothing crazy. It's not going to be like mid-July. That'd be really hot.
Yeah, that would be awful. But yeah, and then shout out to Kiki and Luca and the other follower, Hin Geek Village, for my first ever 2 super chats on a conductor live stream. So shout out to you both.
I'm a good luck charm.
Exactly. You guys are awesome. Everyone in the chat's awesome. There is no bad person. Everyone in the chat's awesome. But I will be doing my Conductor Sunday live stream this Sunday. Hopefully they get George and OG back on there, and we're going to break down Christmas stuff. And hopefully George doesn't tell me he's going to start drinking peppermint schnapps at DCA. I'll have to watch out for that one.
Are you an eggnog person?
I am an eggnog person. I just don't put alcohol in it, so I don't get wild.
That's fair. I freaking love eggnog. I could drink. Oh, it's a problem. It is a problem. I'll just put it that way. Every time I see it, I'm just like, I have to do extra cardio in the winter. I'm just like, I'm going to gain 20 pounds if I don't I drink a whole carton of this in 2 days.
Okay, well, you're really going to think I'm a freak. I can drink a carton in a day.
I mean, I could, yes. The only reason I don't is just some semblance of self-control that I tried to tell myself I have. But I get in trouble. There was a pumpkin one that was last year. Oh, I
saw that.
Oh, my gosh. It was so good. I was like,
yeah. It's funny because I talked to some friends at work, and there are some products during the holidays that have the pumpkin in it. But there's a lot of products with the pumpkin spice that just, I feel like I'm putting pepper salt on my tongue.
It can be a little overkill. Yeah,
it's gross.
I agree there. Yeah.
So I kind of just try to stay away with the pumpkin anything, unless it's pumpkin pie. That's my only justification.
Agreed. Pumpkin pie. I do pumpkin cream cold brew at Starbucks is the only thing I like, and they have that in the wintertime. But yeah, give me a pumpkin pie or an apple pie, I will eat it, and then I will take a nap for a while.
Oh my gosh. But again, Jared, it was always great having you on. Where can everyone find you on social media?
Well, again, thanks for having me on. It's always a good time. Love talking this stuff with you, and thank you everybody into the chat. And thanks for super chatting Theme Park Conductor. I'd love to see that. You can find me at Captain Magic everywhere. And then if you, I do daily videos over on YouTube if you want to see me ramble about things that I talk about over there. And then if you want actual theme park information on Universal Studios and Disney World, you can catch out at CTM Podcast, excuse me, with my wife and I. And we have a show coming out on Monday. It'll be the Universal edition on Monday, where we'll talk about probably what's going on with Stardust, if there's updates over the weekend, and all sorts of stuff like that. So that's where you can find me. And thank you again for having me on. It's always a good time.
Absolutely. And you know what? We actually behaved ourselves. I won't say the term, but
it's true.
We behaved ourselves. We didn't get into that topic.
I won't bring one as a gift to you when you come in March or anything of that nature.
How nice of you. You're just putting them out in the park.
In my defense, I can't really bring that to a theme park. They'd be like, what do you have this for? And I'm like,
you'll bring it to my hotel room. I know that.
Little mint on your pillow with it.
Yeah. I hear a knock on the door. I'm like, oh, it must be room service. All of a sudden, I see Jared.
If you say Aventura, I'll have the little robot bring it to you, and you just be like, "I have a present for you."
God. Yeah, no. I'll donate it to Josh tomorrow's office.
He's already got 3, probably.
That's true.
That guy's for sure. He for sure uses one. I'll tell you that much.
They're probably gold plated.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Filtered water. He's got like a spring water that he uses too.
Oh. 100%.
Like, this is hooked up in the lake of Minnetonka. I don't know if you know its healing properties. You're like, what in the world?
Exactly. You don't have to that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But like Jared says, I'm Theme Park Conductor, your host. You can find me on YouTube and Blue Sky at Theme Park Conductor. You can find me on Instagram at theme_park_conductor. You can also find me on X at Theme Conductor. And you can find me on TikTok at Theme Park Conductor 1. And you can find me resuming as of today with the live streams, but starting Sunday, we'll resume Conductor Sunday live stream where we have amazing guests like the one and only Jared from Capture the Magic, Orange Go 55, George the Disney Italiano, Tommy Toon World, and so many others where we talk Universal, Disney, HHN, the Halloween season, and the up and coming Christmas season, which I already stated I have to watch George because he'll get into those peppermint snobs and get in trouble. So I got to watch him.
You'll see all the chest hair come out. That's
it'll actually grow thicker. So
yeah, gotta watch it.
That kind of scares me. He'll give Donkey Kong a run for his money if he.
I feel like he'll be the type that gets like real close, gets you a lot of eye contact, and you're like, I can't, no, George, no, can't do this.
Yeah, exactly. But thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone in the chat, and shout out to our moderators. And shout out to everyone that's watched on YouTube and X. Have a great night, everybody. And I will see you all on Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Have a good night.